tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
What's going on, everyone? Giving you guys a little preview of what we got on the show today. The Astrolabe is returned. We've got a new look. Familiar, similar, but new. I'm thinking I may have to delete that little feature where it translates the messages that are in another language, because it's like translating the text for emojis and stuff, and that's just unacceptable. I spammed a bunch of emojis, and I don't know what it was, but it apparently was like, oh, I need to change this. So it translated it, and it was just a whole long wall of weird text. So there's some things are going to have to be removed. I think I fixed. Damn it! I just remembered one thing that I did not fix that I picked up on last night. But it's a small thing. I'm not even going to mention it. Probably nobody will even know. I'll just keep it to myself. How you guys doing? A very good morning to you. It is late evening for me. Was it 10:40? Yeah, I probably won't have much sort of like hangout and chat time tonight, or this tonight for me this morning, because I do have to get to sleep before too long, because tonight my little sister goes to work, so I got to go pick her up. Say a prayer for her, by the way. She got kicked in the chest by a horse last week, and she was holding a rake in her hand. He apparently thought she was chasing him with the rake, and kicked her right in the chest, and she's tiny. She's like, I don't know, 5'2", 5'3", and maybe like I don't know, 120 pounds or something. She's tiny. We've always called her Bug. That's been her nickname, because she's always been petite. And she got walloped by a horse. The rake that she was holding, the handle broke, and the handle made an imprint on her chest. I just realized that the YouTube chat isn't coming through because it's goofy like this. Let me try to fix that here real quick. Oh, shut up! Too many refresh requests. Let me come over here. So apparently, okay, this is kind of annoying. I have to do this for every single time. I have to reinitiate the connection, and then it will work. So I guess that's good to know. Get that reinitiated. Can't go build all these like automation chains and then just have them not work. What do you mean all permissions weren't granted? I literally checked all of the boxes. You want me to uncheck them and recheck them? Uncheck them, recheck them. Connect. Oh, that's why, because I picked the wrong email address. I have too many. Picked the wrong email address. There, that should be right. That should actually connect. There we go. Connection successful. All right, you YouTubers over there, hopefully will not feel lonely now, because your stuff should show up in the chat. I should probably. What do you do on YouTube? You set a goal. I should probably set a goal. Let's do this. Let's say 10 super chats. $5 and higher. We'll see if we'll hit the goal in an hour. How you'll celebrate? Start another goal. How about that? Start goal. Okay, there we go. So there is a super chat goal now. And for those of you who did not show up for my little test show last night, yeah, there they go. They're showing up now. For those of you who didn't show up for that last night, there's a whole bunch of stuff has changed. Obviously, there's more to come still. So hopefully I've tested it. It worked last night. Hopefully it'll continue to work. All of the paid events. So any gifted sub, any membership or a super chat or super sticker or tips through the tips link. Now the tips link obviously is preferable because it doesn't go through YouTube, but I'll take anything. The kicks from Kick, any of that. It'll all go to the same tip goal, and you'll notice that the tip goal will begin appearing as you guys contribute to it. So please line up, pay piggies, and make the last week of me not making any money, worth it to Amy. This is also the first month that since she lost her little part-time gig that she was doing to keep things together. So we're rocking on faith here. So please do contribute to the cause. Keep it going. Thank you to Mr. Anonymous over on YouTube. This is a warm hug from my screen to yours. I appreciate you. You 10,000% called the Americanist ideology of the tech elite. In fact, I did. We actually might talk a little bit about some of those things on another show. One of the things I did last night is I went and I had, like, this whole time that I was working, I would pop in occasionally and I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. And I'd open a tab and I think I probably had 75 tabs open or something like that. And I went through and whittled them down and then pulled out a couple. I actually had a couple things on my mind that I wanted to talk about from a couple podcasts I listened to, not yesterday, but yesterday. So I kind of built a couple things around it. One of them is a Promethean action drop. We're going to get a little appearance from the MAGA grandma. Susan Kokinda, talking about how Trump agreed with Bernie, Besant trashed the free market. What is going on? And we're going to use that to talk a little bit about the American system, because I titled the show today, "What is an or what kind of American are you?" Obviously, borrowing on the meme. I tried to get Grok to take the actual meme image and superimpose or like face swap it with me. I gave it an image of me. And I tried to get it to do it, and it gave like a big bearded guy like me with close cropped bleach blonde hair, and red what do you call it, pit vipers. It was not right. It did not look the way it was supposed to. So I was like, ah, screw it. So the sound did not come through. Damn it. Why is the sound... Did the sound on the alert come through for you guys? $88 from Cable. He says, bet, let's kick this dono train off, boys. Thank you, sir. Sent through the tips link. Okay, so it also doesn't show his name on the alert up there. Could you guys hear the alert when it came through? It's supposed to have a sound. But there's more to come on that. I know... So if you're watching, it didn't come through on Kick. Okay, so it didn't come through. I don't know why not. If you guys are used to watching the show, I'm guessing that going over to YouTube is gonna pull some people back into the show. And so maybe if you're not totally familiar with the flow of things or whatever, there are specific dollar amounts. If you use the tips link, tips.kingpill.com, there are specific dollar amounts that have been special because they had special alerts that they played. I'm changing those up a little bit, and I think it's going to be for the better. I hope it's going to be for the better. I'm planning to make it for the better, but I haven't been able to set up those. I have to really like duct tape and baling wire. I have to really like work together. It's actually going to be pretty slick, but I have to build the whole thing out. So that's going to take a little bit. What I can give you, this is a good test for the soundboard. Make sure the soundboard is working. Do you have this? Please tell me that's coming through. I think it's not. Damn it. Why can't stuff just work? Just work. There's no reason to not work. Hold on. Let me just do a little something here. This should be... Damn. Everything got cooked. Absolutely everything. Just absolutely smoked. Broke all the things down. Okay, I don't know what happened on your guys' end, but OBS crashed. OBS just took a shit. And, hold on. Let me let the fine people of YouTube know that it's coming back. Are they... If you're on YouTube, can you see the stream? I'm getting mixed messages on my end here. You can see the stream. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, weird. So it's telling me that it's not connected, but if it is working, then I'm not touching anything. I'm going to leave it be. I tried to... all I tried to do is just refresh the source, and that apparently was a bad thing. So I'm not going to refresh the source. I'm going to leave the source unrefreshed, and we just won't have soundboard today. Maybe when I do the screen share, the soundboard might come through then. It does that sometimes. But anyways, what was I saying? So tips. If you use the tips link, normally they come with special alerts. So 1488, 29. That's what I was playing. I was playing the Erica for you guys. That's what didn't come through on the soundboard. $14.88, $29, $47, $88, over $100, and then over $200. I'm going to be changing. I'm going to be adding some, and then doing a little something different with it. So stay tuned for that. More things to come. If you're watching on YouTube, please do hit the like button. And what are you supposed to do on YouTube? You like it, you share it, you subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed. Channel membership, gifting subs, all those sorts of things. Please do those things over on YouTube and on Kick. Well Below Average says, the elite theory black pill, it's all the Jews types, dismiss Promethean action as either cope or Q-tard slop. Yes, they do. They do. And you know, that's those things are features to me. They're features, not bugs. I don't mind. I don't mind that fact at all. I actually find a lot of the Q-tard slop to be kind of there's definitely something to it. I've pilled you guys on that in the past. You can look it up. Look up the past streams I've done on the QAnon phenomenon. It's not what it purports to be, but it's also not what it purports to be. There's a whole long rabbit hole there. Oh, hold on. Damn it. You know what? It didn't, you start the recording again. Oh, well, I guess the people with the recording are, who listen later on, the audio only folks, they're going to have a weird thing. And man, now it means I've got to stitch that together when I'm done. What was I saying? Oh, the Q stuff. Yeah. There's this subject that's been kind of roiling around in the back of my head for a while, and it's kind of tied into a little bit of what I have here planned for us to talk about today. This desire of people, this like instinctive desire of so many people to try to immanentize the eschaton. It's part of this end of history, I guess trope, or not. It's not a trope. It's like this sense that everyone has this sense of we're at the end of history. This is like a big part of the boomer worldview. Francis Fukuyama wrote the book, and even the people who reject the liberal worldview still have like latent within them some of these core assumptions that we're in the end times. We're at the end of days. Like the world is going to end in our time, and it's possible that it will. I'm not saying that it won't, but every single generation believes that about the time that they live in. At least for the past, however many generations, far enough back to where it's not even worth counting them. They've all believed that they live in the end times. The apostles believed that they lived in the end times. So, in a sense, they did, and we do. But the end times, like, ending is a process. It's not just a termination. So the times are ending. This is why repent, return, redeem, the slogan that Jason Miranchuk coined. Repent, return, redeem. Was it return, repent, redeem? Return, repent, redeem. You got to return, repent, redeem. Because the times are ending. But the times can continue ending from our perspective for a very, very long time. So if part of your worldview involves the forecasting of some sort of ultimate totalizing global event that's going to happen imminently in our lifetimes, and that this is going to color the sorts of actions and the frame that you have on life, then no, don't do that. You can be aware that it could end, because for each of us individually, it could end anytime. Literally right now, I could just keel over and it would be the end for me. So I was living in my end times. But then the world will continue going on. And a few generations hence, I won't even be remembered. So, like, you have to be able to live in the end times, but also live in as if you expect the time to keep going and going and going and going and going. So you got to plan long term. This is funny because it's like there's this frame of guys who I felt a part of for a long time really started forming all of our political observations around this notion of the fallacy of liberalism, rejection of liberalism. People have called it all sorts of different things. It's just the once you understand the precepts of liberalism, you would recognize that that it was going to terminate at some point, and the way it was going to terminate is by having a bunch of people who are opposed to liberalism as liberals. Like they still hold the liberal frame, but they oppose liberalism because liberalism is this, as Jason says, a constant stacking of contradictions. And I expect that I don't think that liberalism as a frame, I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I think it's sort of a feature and a bug of liberalism is that, and by liberalism I'm talking liberalism as a frame. Not even necessarily like a body of philosophy or whatever. I'm talking like the lenses that you put on, that you view the world through. I think it's going to morph. Like a feature of it is that it can continue to be, it can live in its own opposites. So opposition to it perpetuates it. For that reason, I expect that liberalism in some form or another is going to keep going. And it's in this sense, and it's kind of like the Constitution, in that there's actually kind of a brilliance to it. The things that it doesn't lock into place, the doors that it leaves open. If you're talking about the sustainability of a system, like leaving moral judgments aside, you're just talking about the sustainability of the system. Liberalism is an extremely anti-fragile system. So I think setting yourself on the task of trying to destroy liberalism just ends up like you're embodying liberalism then when you do that, because that's kind of what liberalism is. It's the thing it's primarily driven by resentment, and this is why it has all these different egalitarian inequality and differences are heightened and magnified, and political polarities form around them. Like, this is all features and components of liberalism. So you can have using the left and right terms, you can have very right-wing expressions of liberalism. You can also have very left-wing expressions of liberalism, and obviously you do the big spectrum. And I would say liberalism, if you think that there's utility in extending the spectrum up another fractal level, then yes, liberalism would sit at the left end of that higher spectrum. But I think like all of this, you kind of go round and round and round and round with all of this, and then it's just like people are what they are, and Americans are liberal. Americans are liberal in their conception of the world. That's not going to change. They're not going to forego those base precepts of it. You're not going to strip liberalism from the white man. They're one and the same. That's what makes it so. That's why there's always the that wasn't real liberalism. We're going to do liberalism better. That process is going to continue. So I don't remember exactly what got me off talking about that exactly, but so I got this thing from Promethean Action talking about that was what kicked it all off. Was people see the QAnon thing and they're like, and like, for one, it's like, I don't want to get my hopes up. I don't want to believe that. I don't want to be a dupe. I don't want to be a rube that believed in something that I couldn't see, and that actually there were patriots in control. I don't want to be, if I believed that and then something really bad happened that confirmed that I was wrong the whole time, then that'd be really embarrassing, and I'd feel really ashamed if that happened. So I'm not going to entertain that thing. Now, fortunately for yours truly, I was blessed with an extremely heightened sense of openness. I'm like, when I took the Big Five test, I was like 98th percentile in openness. So I'm willing to just entertain things. I don't need to hold on to them. I can just look at them and kind of evaluate them for what they are. And put them up on the shelf and leave them there for a while and come back and see if they look different after time has passed, and just kind of keep track of them. There's just like a little box up there, and I put the interesting little knickknacks in, and then I come back and check on them every once in a while. And occasionally those knickknacks start looking less and less like knickknacks. They start getting some weird qualities to them. And so there's a deep irony that there's such an overlap between the people who spend so much time talking about elite theory and Machiavelli and the dissident right folks. There's kind of this irony that when when the elite started circulating, when the preference cascade amongst the elite class began, they couldn't tell. They didn't see it. They were blind to it. It's like they were so close to it. They were looking at it so closely that they couldn't see it when it began happening. But clearly it's begun happening. And really it comes back to incentives. And if you believe that people have a spiritual attachment to their homeland, then you should have had this in your list of expectations. That people who have that spiritual attachment to this homeland, regardless of what class they fall into, they were going to start acting in the interests of this homeland. Devin Erickson, I will do a little Devin Erickson thread here in a little bit. Devin Erickson said once that like America is where we keep our stuff. And there are very wealthy, powerful people who keep their stuff in America. America is actually a really, really great place to keep your stuff. Everyone in the world wants to keep their stuff in America. It's really high value. And so if there's a sustained effort to deprecate the value of America, eventually people are going to look at this as, at the very least, you could say they're going to look at it as a distressed asset. Here's a great opportunity, just thinking like cynically, but even beyond that, even beyond just the cynical take, there's going to be people who keep their stuff in America, who have substantial amounts of stuff, who decide to start acting in the interests of what's good for America. And then they would begin naturally running into other people who want to do things that are in the interests of America because they keep their stuff in America. So you could have expected that. It's kind of like what Stormy Waters once said. He said, where there is power, there will be competition for that power. Well, where there is a deprecating asset, there will be competition for that asset, because at a certain point, it gets deprecated to a degree to which the calculus changes. Either those who were invested in that asset are like, okay, I can't just sit and watch this happen any longer. I need to protect my interests. Or others are like, well, hey, that's becoming a pretty good deal. So there's going to be a competition for America. And assuming that competition, that the results of that competition are already decided, means that there isn't a competition. There won't be a competition. But then that just violates the whole train of logic we just walked through. Obviously, there's going to be a competition. And the competition has begun very, very clearly. And part of what's going to come out of this is I don't want to overstate this too much. I don't want to say that this is going to be the everyone is kind of the same thing. Like everyone thinks the world is going to end in their time. Everyone also thinks that their time is the most important time. My time is the time when the big, massive, transformative thing is going to happen. And every generation thinks that. And every generation at the time that it's happening, it is a big transformative thing. But, later on, there's going to be another big transformative thing that's the thing that's actually happening. So that's going to be, and this cycle continues. Main character syndrome, yeah. Yeah, and then this also isn't, people might say that the main character syndrome is like, it's a millennial thing or it's a boomer thing. And they might have their own particular obnoxious manifestations of it, but every single generation has main character syndrome. Each generation just expresses it differently, but every single generation thinks they're the main character because they are the main character. They're the main character in their own experience, and that's the only thing they can speak from. So, let's see if I can regather my train of thought here. So what's going to come out of this next era in history is, I'm not going to say that it's like the first, like the defining of what an American is, but it's going to be a reassertion of the definition of American, because this is a thing that kind of ebbs and flows. You come up to this big point of conflict like this, and there's an extra demand, and there's exigent circumstances and stuff that force this decision upon people, forces this question of identity upon people. People are going to be divided and set against each other, and the terms of that division are going to be are going, or they're going to bear out that these are forces much bigger than us. These are, I like to, I've said before on the show, I like to like zoom out and act as if I'm a historian from 300, 500 years in the future, looking back at this time, sort of detaching from it a little bit, depersonalizing from it a little bit, and viewing it just kind of as a historian, looking at these broader sweeps, these broader arcs, because for some reason those are easier for us to see further removed. So, like, if you're evaluating a particularly contentious point in time, where there's those, the weeks where decades happen, when you're looking back on them retrospectively, you're not going through and evaluating every little change in the story on a day-to-day basis, or a week-by-week basis, or even oftentimes even like a year-by-year basis. You go back far enough, and we're like, oh yeah, the people who lived in 300 AD and the people who lived in 800 AD were basically the same people. There's like ancient people where they lived half a millennium apart. Everything kind of blurs together for us. But so we I like to take that look, try to like zoom out into the future and look back and try to view those big broad sweeping arcs, the sorts of transformative forces that move at the civilizational level, or even at the meta civilizational level. Being able to identify those, because those are the things that move us, whether we're aware of it or not, and you really only see it in retrospect. So, yeah. So I don't want to privilege this time as like this is when the American identity is going to be defined, encapsulated for the first time, because it's been encapsulated at various times in the past. And there will be a time in the future where we look back at the halcyon days of 2020, of the 2020s, and it's like, oh yeah, that was kind of crazy and everything. And then that brief period in history passed, and then new things happened. And so that's why I'm not going to say that this is like the moment where the American identity comes into full relief, but that process is going to continue. We're constantly like chipping away at this. It's like a fossil from the future. This, like, what the American identity is going to be. We're constantly chipping away at that and discovering, learning about it. So, so there's a longer clip that I'm going to play the back end of the show here. From an episode of Tommy's podcast a couple of days ago called Uncle House with Colonel Watkins, Joaquin Flores, and Ian Burlingame. And I'm playing it in particular for, they all make some good points on it, but I'm playing it in particular for some commentary that Joaquin had. And I really, really enjoy Joaquin's approach to analyzing these things, evaluating these things. He's a good dude. So let's see here. It's looking to me like I just realized the tip goal, I think, is not. Let me try this. The tip goal appears to not be updating properly. Let me give a quick look-see over at this and figure out why it is, so I can make a note to go fix that. I'm sure there's something in my workflow that I need to add that I'm not doing on a regular basis, or like that I'm not doing right at the start of the show. So I need to start doing that, and I got to figure out what it is. Well, that's odd. What a curious thing. We'll have to wait to see if another tip comes in or another paid event and see what happens then. Because it might just be that one source isn't connected. I didn't connect it right or something like that. Okay, let's get into this here. Enough jibber jabber. So the first thing here, I just got to give a shout out to my boy at Passcode Ronald on X, Homan's top guy. I mean, look at that. Look at that powerful avatar. This was one of those that I saw the other day that had me squeaking. I was dying when this came across the timeline. So Zero Hedge says Saudi Arabia sounds missile alert. I've been following the Iran, Saudi Arabia, Israel thing. I've been following it really closely because it's just kind of boring. There's other things that have interested me, but so apparently there was some strike on Iran, and Iran's mad, and so now Saudi Arabia sounds missile alert, and he says this is Iran. Every time they're attacked, this is one of those that you kind of have to watch to get it. Hey, there we go. Boomer Slayer, $7.19. Many Romans salutes your ways, brothers. Thank you, sir. $10 Canadian over on YouTube. So that also is not. Why did the behavior on that change? So I see what it's doing. It's not actually counting the dollar amounts. It's counting the instances. Okay, well, I'll have to fix that later. I think I know what it might be, but it'll take me a little bit to kind of troubleshoot it. So I'll just try to manually keep track of things here today. Okay, so this is Iran every time they're attacked.
It's right here. Israel's right here. Bye-bye, Israel! Bye-bye!
I don't know if it depending on your screen, I don't know if you can see that really clearly, but the area that he was bombing is Saudi Arabia. So that bye-bye Israel, that is absolutely going on the soundboard.
Bye-bye!
Oh, it's back here. Where is it?
Bye-bye! Right here. Bye-bye, Israel!
There you go. I'll be throwing that on the soundboard. And then speaking of Q, this would have been a better segue earlier, but speaking of Q, the real ones will know. Imagine walking into a bar and finding yourself watching this performance. Okay, I'm going to play that again, but yes, that is Nessun Dorma. That is the end of the Sum of All Fears. It is one of Donald Trump's favorite songs, and he loves to have it played at his rallies or at other special events. And just if you're not aware, if you're not read in on the relevance here, just go look up. If you haven't seen Sum of All Fears, just go look up the ending of Sum of All Fears, and then consider that this song is very closely personally meaningful to the president. Here it is one more time. Chudria Bocelli. So true, Kate. Chudria Bocelli. That is exactly who that guy is. Oh, $20 came in. How did I miss that? $20 came in from... Hold on. I was over here trying to fix things, and it was not working. Mr. Anonymous sent $20 to the tips link, said, I love my Mexican girlfriend and Latinos in general, but hearing a white man sing with gusto makes me want to rediscover the Americas and bring the pagans to God. So true. So true, Anonymous. Yes. Oh, this is, yeah. I wish I could just take the entire show that I have to get through and just cram it into like 30 seconds because all of these things are tying together just perfectly. Yeah, Homeless Nomad, that video doesn't get across just how fucking loud opera singers are. Those people's ears were ringing after this. He didn't need the mic. I don't know why he needed the mic. I don't know why he was holding it. He had no need for that mic. He could have absolutely filled that room and then some. I was glowing pink when the chat came. Yeah, that's supposed to happen. Yeah, it glows pink for that one, and then it'll be red for YouTube things and green for Kick things. Isn't that cute? Oh yeah, and then this one here, I had to include. It's crazy that this happened, and we just went on with our lives. This was a real event.
I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way, and I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. Doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a
That was the president. That was the sitting president of the United States.
Golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards.
Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. The reason I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag.
Donald's face.
And
me when my homies tell me about their exploits on the links. I got my handicap down to a 6. Joe Biden wasn't no fucking 6 handicap.
but by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie that he's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Joe, stop embarrassing yourself.
But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing. I just won.
I've seen your swing. I know your swing. I wonder what Joe Biden's golf swing is like. Is he like is this like Charles Barkley? Okay, so I played this one for you guys a couple weeks ago. British kids tasting Southern food for the first time. Here they are eating barbecue.
Whoa, that looks amazing.
Yes. Oh yeah. I feel emotional.
Have you guys ever had Southern barbecue before?
Get
No,
emotional.
I've had this like bread.
You've had bread?
No,
That's good, that's good. This is what a platter might look like, but you're missing the star of the show.
no, what is that? That is massive. Oh my word.
That looks lovely.
What does that look like to you?
Like a burnt steak.
Mud.
This is brisket.
Oh my word. Just look at the juice coming out when you're just cutting it. Look at the juice.
Thank you for the kicks, Emperor Atreides. Appreciate you, man.
Oh, look at that.
It is slow cooked for over 16 hours.
Yeah, I'd rather go Mackey's.
For your first ever bite of Texas barbecue.
I'd rather go to Mackey's. Send him home. Throw him out.
I think we should try some burnt ends.
Thank you, Pale Morning Dude.
Oh my god. That just melted in my mouth.
Wow.
Can't even describe it.
Perfect.
It's absolutely wonderful.
That is amazing. That is so good. It tastes like steak but smoky.
The flavour just lasts for ages, doesn't it? It was so good, I probably have to go back for another one.
It tastes like can't even explain. It's absolutely sublime.
That's really good.
So it doesn't taste like mud?
No.
Now I want to know, was this actually the guys that are presenting this to them here are
That's really good.
So it doesn't taste like mud.
so the guys that are giving it to them, they're Brits as well. And the guy's wearing an apron. I want to know, are they the guys who made this, or is this actually their guys' names are Josh and Ollie? Their channel is Jolly. Oh God. Jolly. Okay. So are they the guys who made this, or did they get this from like an actual Texas barbecue place?
No. My eyes are watering.
The flavours just hit you in the back of the throat.
I've not eaten all day, and this is probably the best thing I've ever eaten.
Wow. Help yourself. You can grab some fatty brisket.
God bless America.
Look at that, look at that.
Oh, so tender. It just rips apart.
Oh my days. Is that fat?
It is. But that fat, it's not like steak fat, right, where it's a bit chewy and you might want to cut it off. It is rendered down, so it's all soft and melting.
It melts in your mouth.
Are you lying? He's not lying. That was amazing. My mouth's mesmerised.
Your mouth is mesmerised.
Those fatty parts makes it so much better. It's not like a chewy fat. It's like
A gooey fat.
yeah.
Look at
You're
how
the funny
prim and
one.
proper he is.
It's like
Mesmerised.
those
Look at him.
fatty parts.
Look at him with the knife and fork. These guys have taken their etiquette training. They probably had like a private school or something like that. Look at them all proper. Like I went to the boarding academy I went to for high school. They actually had an etiquette coach come, and we did like a big etiquette training, and then we did a banquet, and like different teams took turns serving the others, and it was a whole thing. But this is one of the things that they taught us was like how to use the fork and like the proper way. Like you're supposed to get some butter onto your plate. Then you're supposed to take the roll. You don't like put the butter on the roll. You pull off a little piece of the roll, and then you get a little bit of the butter on your knife, and you put it on the roll, and you like little dab of butter per bite. Now, as a huge fan of butter, I was delighted to learn this. No, Mom, I have to. The etiquette coach said so.
Parts makes it so much better. It's not like a chewy fat. It's like
A gooey fat.
yeah.
You're the funny one.
Okay.
Why don't we have this in like the UK? I don't think anyone's that patient.
Why don't we have this in the UK? It's a very good question. It is a very good question. It's almost like some good things come from America.
To wait 16 hours.
You did say I'd rather have a Macca's. Is that still your opinion?
Macca's can never. No, I would definitely go this.
Especially if someone else is cooking it
Yeah,
for
I'm not waiting there for 16 hours.
you. With the lean brisket right here, you might want to try something we call a Texas
Imagine having this at your disposal and eating fucking chicken tiki masala. I mean, it's okay. It's fine. But are you gonna have tiki masala, or are you gonna have fucking brisket?
fold.
Texas fold.
What's that? Wait, fold as in like
I'm
F-O-L-D.
What's up? I'm back.
So grab a bit of toast, a bit of brisket. You can even put a bit of slaw in there if you want.
Some pickles. I'll get you some pickles.
I love you got pickles again.
Is this the like, are pickles a delicacy to them? Can they not just go down to the grocery store and buy some pickles? Look at these boys light up when he suggests pickles.
If you want.
Some pickles. I'll get you some pickles.
Like, that's not a reaction to I could get you some pickles.
I love
You got pickles again.
Are you putting pickles in the milkshake?
Yeah.
They're in control.
This is, aren't it?
It's chaos. You like pickles?
I've never tried them.
See what you think.
I think that's
Never tried pickles. What sort of third world country is this?
good, yeah. It's like cucumber, but better.
Exactly. Do you like pickles?
Cucumbers pickled. I say.
Okay, you don't have to have pickles.
I'm all for the ride.
Okay, you're up for new experiences. That's a lot of pickles for someone who doesn't like pickles. Oh, look at that.
Oh, he knows.
Look at that.
He knows.
And what you're going to do?
Think about the textures and the flavors in that, the way that they would blend. You got like the sweet smokiness of the sauce. You've got the tart crunchiness of the pickles. And then you've got the meat. Oh,
Fold that in half.
I think I put too much.
You put a lot, I'm not going to lie.
Just like lean on it to fold it.
And that they call a Texas fold.
Yeah, those guys. These guys are the ones who are pickling their pineapples in Kool-Aid.
You put a lot, I'm not going to lie.
Just like lean on it to fold it.
And that they call a Texas fold. We learned this recently.
Everything is better with bread in it.
Whitest thing ever said. Everything is better with bread in it. Yeah, Brits, get used to folding. Get used to the Texas fold.
That is so nice. The pickles are in it too.
Oh, you're not a fan?
Gherkins make it so much better.
So many different flavors coming in, and the meat is so juicy.
Took enormous bites.
That was really good.
Yeah.
That was so nice. The coleslaw.
They're experiencing first world cuisine for the first time in their lives.
The coleslaw mixed with the sauce, and then like the pickle, the crunch, and then the meat. This is the best sandwich I've ever had.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Dave,
Are you going on holiday this summer?
Yes, off to Portugal.
we actually have a gift for you today. It's from our friends at Saley who are sponsoring this episode. Saley is an eSIM app that can get you...
Okay. Enough of that. I'm starving. Yeah, diabolical thing to play at the start of a fast. You're welcome. You're welcome, Straight Buster. Enjoy that. Magagramma time. So, Susan Kokinda says, Trump agreed with Bernie. Besant trashed the free market. What is going on?
On his way to Wisconsin yesterday, Donald Trump dropped a stunner.
But when Bernie Sanders lost, you know that I got many of his people. They voted for me. Because we are on an economic plan, as far as economics is concerned. We have certain things that aren't that far apart.
And a few days earlier, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said this.
For the past 25 years, we had this kind of slavish devotion to free markets and things would recalibrate automatically, and they didn't.
Okay, Trump agreeing with Bernie Sanders and his Treasury Secretary did.
Things would recalibrate automatically, but they didn't. Why, I wonder? See, this is one thing that the free market has actually never been a distinctly American thing. It's worked its way into our vocabulary over the past, I don't know, 80 years or so. It's not like the free market, what would you call it? Like the free market impulse hasn't been there or been present. But this is not a thing that's native to America. There's a thing called the American system that I'd never heard of. That I'm sure most of you guys had never heard of it until I encountered Susan Kokinda and the ladies over at Promethean Action, and then started just looking it up. And it's like there's like a term for it and everything. It's got a freaking Wikipedia page. The American system of political economy. Yet somehow we veered away from the American system of political economy. Why is that? Why did that happen? As we're discussing the idea of what the American ethnos is and is becoming, because it's both of those things. The American ethnos both is and is becoming. The American system of political economy and its let's say like its downstream effects on the organization of American society, I think is it's important. Economics isn't everything, but the American system of political economy is so different from the paradigm that I grew up in, that majority of people alive today have grown up in, and yet it's also not really that far away.
Free markets. Have Trump and his team changed sides? No, they haven't changed sides. They've changed systems. But if you're stuck in the world of free markets versus socialism, you won't understand what's going on, because there is another whole system that you don't know about. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So first, we're going to look at why Donald Trump's tip of the hat to Bernie Sanders gives you a hint about what he means by a new economic plan. Second, how yesterday's jobs report demonstrates that the new plan is working. And third, how Peter Navarro gave that new plan its brand name. But if your hair caught on fire when Trump acknowledged Bernie Sanders, you need to understand this.
It's kind of easy to think about too. Like imagine you're in, like a rural area in this gigantic, massive continent of ours, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, even a lot more recently than that, you're in this rural area where you don't have like total like globalized travel and the internet and telephones, and you mostly are born and grow up and die in your town and within, and you only rarely might travel any handful of dozens or hundreds of miles away from your town, but you by and large are born, grow up, live, and die in largely the same place. So you have communities that are pretty small. Everyone knows everyone. Half of them are related to each other. And they're built on this base layer of trust. And then some other person comes to town and just like sets up shop and is like, no, we're going to do things a little different here. That person's going to get looked at askance and likely thrown out on his ass in many such cases. This is why there's, like the guy selling, the snake oil salesman, the traveling merchant who is
I've got bad news for you. You're Jewish.
Okay, it does work on the screen share. That meme exists for a reason, because that sort of person existed. The idea that you would just have like free and open trade with anyone anywhere in the world and there would be no barriers to that. There'd be no like management of that relationship. It would be absurd. And particularly if you go back far enough to before the emergence of the broader conceptions of the like Enlightenment liberalism, it was like you would have like the lord who owned the manor and had absolute authority over that region. He gave he gave his power, his support to the king, and the king sat at the head of a coalition of landowners or princes or lords or whatever the particular structure happened to be. And the king's responsibility was to protect his people. The king's responsibility was to ensure the market, the ability to transact peacefully for his people. He was the ultimate use of force that would arbitrate disputes or establish guidelines for behavior. And the assumption was that in return for that he had an obligation as someone in that position of power to care for the people within his domain. Because the ones who didn't last very long. Like ultimately, whether you actually have a formal vote or not, when things get bad enough, the people are going to vote. One man, one army, they can only do so much. So this is not at all removed from the American experience. This was actually very normal that you would have like insular cultures that were suspicious of outsiders and didn't have this just baseline presumption that we're the same people with the same values who are can be trusted in contracts and that sort of thing.
Trump wasn't being nice to Bernie. He was doing something far more dangerous. He was reviving a system that the British Empire thought that they had killed. Over the last week, Trump and his economic team have been dropping some big ideological economic bombshells. Bombshells that shatter the idea that free markets are sacrosanct and government intervention into the economy is an abomination. Let's start with the president. His comments about Bernie came in the context of a discussion about the United States government taking stakes in some of the big AI companies, as they have with Intel.
We're going to see sort of it's like you make them a partnership in this revolution. It would be a beautiful thing. It would make it rich.
Senator Bernie Sanders proposed this 50% managed public-private partnership.
I've been talking about it.
Public-private partnership? What's that you say?
Waiter, more fascism, please.
For the last year.
But is it odd to be kind of on the same page with Senator Sanders?
No, actually, when Bernie Sanders was taken advantage of with Hillary Clinton and he lost in the primaries, a lot of people think he did lose. I mean, he had two of them, right? He lost then and he lost the second time with Biden. But when Bernie Sanders lost, you know that I got many of his people. They voted for me.
Mr. Anon. Okay, I've got to figure out a solution for this because I just realized that I can't easily read that when it comes through. Let me come over to the page here on Ko-fi and I can read it here. I need to get the sound cues for that so that I know when it happens. Mr. Anonymous, there's the full name. The full name, Mr. Anonymous, the pay pig mafia slave. The free market implies that man's greatest virtue is to trade with such ferocity that he starves his neighbors to build a storehouse. Trade should simply serve child rearing and state security. Fortune should be in service to something. Banger. Yeah, if you run the free market simulator, if you think of it as like a video game, and you're just gonna let it run and let it what would you say, like it begins developing recursive loops with itself, so it starts accelerating, then what is it going to run to? Well, it's going to run to this, where every person has the obligation to maximize their own system, which is trade with such ferocity that your neighbors are starved and you've built up a great storehouse. This isn't like an anti-rich people thing. This is like basic human behavior. Imagine a government, or imagine a conception of a ruling institution where they exercise sovereignty over a particular domain, and they lay down the laws for how that domain is going to be governed, and then people who want to come and participate or act within that domain who are not within that domain have to pay for it. There's a cover charge. And the expectation is this mediating authority is going to accumulate that cover charge and then deploy it for the betterment of the people within the domain of the sovereign. That's all tariffs are. Tariffs are the sovereign protecting the territory from outsiders. Tariffs are a wall, the same way that you would have a wall for people, you have a wall for money, goods. There's still the possibility of moving beyond the wall, but you have to follow certain constraints, and it's going to cost you something. And the more valuable your domain is, the higher the wall, the bigger the charge. This is why, incidentally, this is why free trade and the free movement of peoples are inevitably joined at the hip. If you want free movement of peoples, drive free trade. If you want free trade, drive the free movement of peoples. These are the same thing. The immigration problem and the trade problem are the same problem. They're born out of the same foundational assumptions about the organization, the hierarchical structure of society. So in this case, this public-private partnership, think about the mechanics of what's happening here. It's quotidian to the point of utterly mundane in American society to have the federal government provide capital for businesses, for organizations, for structures, whether it's in the form of grants or subsidies or constraining the market such that access to capital is maintained at a certain price point that is favorable to different institutions. These are all forms of the federal government granting capital to these corporations and NGOs and whatever else. Structuring it as a 50-50 partnership doesn't change the fact that the capital is being allocated. It's just putting a different, it's recording it differently in the ledger and establishing a different baseline incentive structure. Because now this is not just funneling money into a black hole. This is a mutual co-investment with strings attached. Now, ultimately, all of these things, you can't just engineer the perfect thing where then it's just all perfect and great, and it's always going to come back to the quality of the leadership. You can never get around that fact. So yeah, something, a 50-50 public-private partnership in some major company, whether done informally in the form of subsidies or grants or regulatory capture, legislative carve-outs, whether it's done informally that way, I'm calling that informally, or formally in the form of a public-private partnership declared as such, the same fundamental transaction is happening in terms of the allocation of resources, but the incentive structure of it changes.
because we are on an economic plan.
Notice Trump's reference to an economic plan? We're going to come back to that because that's the key to everything. But this wasn't the first time this week that Bernie Sanders came up. Scott Besant, in his interview with Orrin Cass, made the same point, that a lot of people who voted for Bernie Sanders came over and voted for Trump because they saw that the markets had failed. And then
Ben Shapiro on 2X says we should go back to calling it a royal warrant. That's a good point. Yes. Yeah, calling it a royal warrant. I mean, you have to get over the royal part, but it's the same. It's the same thing. Like the king has granted you approval to operate in this domain on these terms, and this is the pound of flesh that he's going to exact, so that there is a mutual investment on the terms of that agreement being respected.
Besant described what happens to people who are at the mercy of a system that is rigged against them and fails.
They've lost hope. And it feels like more and more people want to economically play the lottery. And we need to make people understand that there is a path, that there is a fairness in the system of work hard, do well, and you can have a comfortable life if you play by the rules and the system is not rigged against you. I think that's...
So this is a really interesting statement from Besant. When I listened to it, I was thinking, there's two ways that you could hear this. I'm going to replay his statement here, and there's two ways that you could interpret this. He's saying that there needs to be a structure to the system whereby people understand that if I play by the rules, if I follow the established plans here, Mr. Anonymous with another tip, if I play by these rules, then I'm going to get the payoff from it. And ultimately, the majority of people just want to be comfortable. They just want a comfortable life. They're simple people. The hobbits. They just want to grill. And that's not a bad thing. The people ought to be able to just grill, because the people who are just grilling are the people who are reproducing, the people who are building families, the people who are establishing lineages, the people who are caring for traditions, propagating their traditions. The responsibility of leadership is to preserve a sanctuary where the people can just grill. So you could look at this one of two ways. You could look at this in a sinister way. I'll play it again. You can hear it. Try to put yourself in the frame of mind of someone who thinks he's a villain. He's there in his tuxedo, the dapper gay man who's in there. He's a former Soros guy. He's in there. Oh, we're gonna get those fucking plebs. Look at him as a villain and listen to what he says here. And you could hear in this, oh, they're trying to pacify us. They're trying to make us look. We're trying to make us look away from all their evil deeds. They're trying to buy us off. No, I won't be bought off. No, I don't care.
It feels like more and more people want to economically...
What's going on? Everyone's posting F's in the chat. Back up again.
Play the lottery.
No clue what's happening here. Back up. So there's a lag on YouTube as well. So it's something on the output. When it crashed last time, my little settings dock where it shows me like the frame rate and all of that, when it crashed, that disappeared when it came back up again. And also my little thing where I keep track of the chat. I had to pop out the chats down here. Those crashed, and I don't want to try to open a dock because I don't want things to break. I have no idea why this is happening. I wish I knew. But all right, well, we're back up again. So let me back this up again and play his statement.
They've lost hope, and it feels like more and more people want to economically play the lottery, and we need to
like this is like the playing the lottery thing. I forgot I was going to say something about that. The way that the betting markets are taking off, like crypto and then now the betting markets, these are all their popularity is not a good thing, but it's also a symptom. It's a fruit. It's not a root. It's people who feel hopeless when the rules don't make any sense anymore. And, it's kind of every man for himself. We've got our radical individualism. Every man's for himself. All right, well, I'm just going to start betting. I'm just going to play the market. So, like, even if you looked at this cynically, it'd be like, well, even if he is some sort of evil comic book villain who just wants us to be pacified and happy and fed and cared for and protected so he can take advantage of us. Like, even if that's the case, it's like, well, like, something has to happen. The alternative right now is people get more and more hopeless and nihilistic and start just trying to play the market, and things get more chaotic, and you start having more black swan events randomly occur because the system is starting to decohere. So, like, you could leave aside anything ideological or whatever, just say, like, the system needs to cohere. This is why I get when people are talking about, oh, we need a revolution. It's time for a revolution. Like, I understand this is kind of a trope within Western society. Oh, we got to have a revolution. The tree of liberty needs to be watered by the blood of martyrs. Very Lenin-esque quote. This is a thing. This is like a thing that's present. So, like, I'm not going to fight against people thinking or talking that way, but I'm also going to say, like, no, we don't need a revolution. We don't need a flip the table over. That's actually where things are. We are experiencing a slow motion flipping of the table. The flipping of the table needs to stop. The table needs to be established on firm ground. So you can pick the game up and you can put the game back there and you can set the pieces back up and you can play your game of chess or whatever it is. So even if it is a cynical ploy, oh, we're just going to do this to take advantage of us. Well, there's going to be a good outcome from that, which is the system will start to cohere again.
Like, more and more people want to economically play the lottery. And we need to, like, make people understand that there is a path, that there is a fairness in the system of work hard, do well, and you can have a comfortable life if you play by the rules, and the system is not rigged against you. I think that's what we've really got to get to.
You can have a comfortable life if you play by the rules. And there's like this suspicion that people, you can't. They just want you to be comfortable. You should never be comfortable. You always need to be ready to like fight and stay uncomfortable. And like, I kind of understand it as like a framing thing. It's like a Jocko thing or whatever. Tom Luongo does his become ungovernable thing, which is it's like a very Gen X thing. Thank you, somebody over on Ko-fi. Thank you for reminding me that there was also another tip over here on Ko-fi. Let me read these real quick. Mr. Anonymous, the pay pig mafia slave, said, an example to show this in practice. I'd rather have an American Soviet arms company taking over enough mines to begin producing AR-15s to ensure every American is armed than simply allow the world's factories to strip our land of all its minerals to sell rifles to the planet. Yes. Like, again, like, I see this with people that are concerned about, like, America opening their market to Chinese investment. But they also don't understand, like, what that means. Allowing people in China to start getting their money out of China and having like approved methods for them to remove their money from China is a defensive action by America with respect to China. But also, if foreign investment comes into the country and they, pay for the reindustrialization of the country, and in return for that, they get favorable trade deals or they get to participate and they get preferential treatment within the American security umbrella, et cetera, et cetera. If they start fucking up, then all of their assets, those are here. What did they say about possession in the law? Yeah, it's ours. Which, again, it comes back to what I said. Fundamentally, beneath all of it is the requirement that leadership must be comprised of brave, bold, virtuous, wise men. Thank you, PayPig. And then Donkey Bite with the $5 as well and didn't say a thing. Thank you, Donkey Bite. So yeah, like, if somebody hears Scott Bessent say this and gets that like bristling, like, oh, like the Epstein class just wants us comfortable, you got to log off for a little while. You got to go chill. You got to go pet a cat or something because the cynicism is not helping your soul.
Like, the system is not rigged against you and that it's working for you.
Now, this isn't the first time Bessent has said something like this.
Imagine the system working for us. What's that? We have a Treasury Secretary who wants the system to work for the American people and not be rigged against them?
Called it a bad system before. and he said that this administration is out to fix the system. The appointment of Kevin Warsh as the new Federal Reserve Chairman is part of that, because that's what Warsh means when he talks about regime change at the Fed.
Yes. Straight Buster says, nah, bro, never get comfortable. Comfort is decline. Okay, you're like 0.5% of people. Yeah. Right. The guys who are like, yeah, never be comfortable, bro. Like, that's your calling to leadership, expressing itself as in like teenage angst or something. If you're the guy who feels that, like, oh, I can never be comfortable, I have to be always on my guard, always looking out for the threats around the corner, and like, okay, good. Like, you have that gene, so you need to maximize that gene for the good of your people. Your job is not to go berate everyone else to discover that gene in themselves. Your goal is to maximize that gene yourself. So you need to be the one who's taking risks. You need to be the one who's never allowing himself to be comfortable. If those thoughts are present in your mind, that's the voice of God speaking to you, telling you to stop being comfortable.
Because the Fed is a very big part of how the system is rigged. Under the old regime, every time the economy starts to move, the Fed slams on the brakes. Now, President Trump took that on himself in his presser on Air Force One yesterday.
And you don't have to have inflation by having growth. We have great growth, and that doesn't mean inflation. In fact, it can be anti-inflation growth. So I hope the market starts to learn that when you have good numbers, the market should go up, not down.
So there's Donald.
When you have good numbers, the market should go up. It's so simple.
Trump schooling the markets. And yesterday...
Notice how he's not saying that the markets should always go up. There's a time for the markets to go down. It's good for the markets to go down when it's time for the markets to go down. But then when good things are happening, the markets should go up.
Trump's economic council head, Kevin Hassett, joined in on dissing the experts and Wall Street.
What's most astonishing about it is we look at the forecasts of everybody that's surveyed at Bloomberg, and not a single person got this number right. That happens quite a bit. But the error from the top person to this number was about 50,000 jobs. And so, right now, Wall Street just doesn't understand that the Trump economy is really creating an economic golden age.
So there you have Trump citing Bernie, Bessent saying the system was rigged, and Hassett saying Wall Street doesn't understand. That's not the stuff of accepted economic debate. But accepted economic debate and doctrine is how we almost lost our economic and political sovereignty. Donald Trump...
So true, Mega Grandma. What's funny is there's part of the maybe one of the most fundamental components of my case for relentless trusting is that leadership can't do everything. Like, their job is not to solve every problem. Their job is to solve the important problems and to unleash everyone else to solve the rest of them. And this ultimately becomes a game of belief. If the markets are going down when good numbers, when good things happen, markets go down, then this is either because somebody's intentionally driving the market down, or it's because people don't believe those are good things. Or they're not aware that they're good things. They don't trust them. And whether or not the numbers are real or whether or not they actually are good things, the goal here is to kickstart the drive, to kickstart the engine, to get the engine going. And so sometimes all it takes is, like, you've probably had this experience yourself where you are, I'm trying to think of an example in my own life and something's not coming to mind immediately, but like you decide to make decisions on facts that you believe are facts. You later find out that you were mistaken, but the decisions that you made you better off. Like, you were good. You progressed your life forward. You improved yourself. You made something better by making those decisions. And you wouldn't have made those decisions had you not been exposed to those erroneous facts. Like, ultimately, it's a vibes game. Like, the market ultimately is a vibes game. You pull everything out, all the analysis, all of the incentives, all of that, and it comes down to, at its root, vibes. If the vibes are bad, the numbers are going to be bad. But if the numbers are good, that does not necessarily translate directly to the vibes being good. But notice the first part of that. If the vibes are good, the numbers will be good. So it doesn't matter if the numbers are good or bad if the vibes are good. I'm just talking on a base level, like you're trying to hack the thing. You're trying to work through the logic tree and try to engineer the outcome. If everybody woke up tomorrow and believed that we were on the cusp of a golden age and it can only good happen, think of how many good things would happen. Given the multiply across millions of people all suddenly orienting themselves toward positive productivity because they're hopeless, because they're hopeful. Because suddenly they have a vision ahead of them that starts motivating them, starts driving them. They're no longer feeling listless or fearful or anxious or timid or tepid. This is why. Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.
Trump is operating off of a new set of rules, and Promethean Action understands those rules better than anyone because we've been studying them and fighting for them for 50 years. So if you want to join the fight, subscribe to our free newsletter. The link is in the description. And those new rules are working. Yesterday's jobs report didn't just beat expectations. They showed what happens when you aren't slavishly devoted to free markets. Here's the numbers as they were reported as they came in on Fox News.
Wow. 172,000 non-farm payrolls were added to the economy in May. The estimate was 85,000, guys. There you go. 4.3% is the unemployment rate. Private sector jobs coming in better than expected, 120,000. We were looking for 85,000. Labor force participation rate, 61.8%. It is all about these big numbers that we were seeing. Factory jobs, 7,000. That's actually also better than expected.
So here's what happened. The expert forecast was for 105,000 jobs. The number came in at 172,000. The experts missed by 64%. And remember how Joe Biden's numbers always got revised downward after the fact and you never noticed? Well, Trump's numbers are getting revised up. March's numbers went up by 29,000, more than previously reported, and April by 64,000.
So here's the thing. You might say, well, I don't trust those numbers. If I didn't trust him before, I have no reason to trust him now. Okay. So what? What bearing, like, are you going to change the decisions that you make, you personally in your life? Are you going to make major life decisions on precisely how accurate the jobs forecast was or what the actual number of jobs that were added in the country are? I remember this when I was in college and people were like, you need to get these certain types of degrees because there's lots of jobs in the market for those kinds of degrees. And I was like, but I don't need lots of jobs. I need one. They're like playing an odds game here, but it's like I don't need lots of jobs. I need one job. So like it doesn't make a difference in your personal life precisely what the jobs numbers were. I fully endorse faking the jobs numbers to make things look better than they are, to give people hope. Fully endorse it. No qualms whatsoever. Fucking print the shit. I don't care. Straight Buster says doubting economic figures is like complaining about gas prices. What are you going to do? Not get gas? Right. This is just retard max. Just lean into it. Just retard max. You're going to get gas. If gas is more expensive, adjust elsewhere. If gas is less expensive, take advantage of it.
Now, let's go.
I bought an electric truck, so I don't even pay attention. The only reason I pay attention to the gas prices is just so that I can have like something to compare to when I see other people talking about gas prices. It's actually for us in our life right now, it's actually works out great. You know, we just charge it at home. Maybe once a week, I'll go take it to the like to make sure that we're full to go to church because it's an hour drive there. I'll go charge it up at the local supercharger. Otherwise, just plug it in when we get home. It's very, very convenient and fast as shit too.
Let's go back to that increased factory job figure of 7,000. It's positive, but it's not a lot yet. But the operative word is
computer
yet.
Truck.
This is where a lot of the tension lives because this is not yet a lived experience for most Americans. Donald Trump's trade counselor, Peter Navarro, explained what's happening. He said, first come orders, then production, then capital investment. Only then comes robust hiring. To put this another way.
Look at that. First come orders, then production, then capital investment, only then comes robust hiring. So where are we at in this? What are the orders? Everyone was complaining about how Donald Trump spent the first year of him back in office, applying a Patriot lip pillow here. His first year back in office, everyone was so mad about him going out and spending all this time on foreign policy. Doesn't he know everything's bad at home? He's just going and like doing all these trade deals and settling all these wars and using trade to force these countries to stop going to war with each other and putting out these little hot spots all over. Why is he focused on that? Doesn't he understand everything's bad here domestically? First come orders. What do you think those trade deals were? Those trade deals were orders. Then production. If you're following Freight Alley on X, the guy's been screaming it from the mountaintops for a few months now that in domestic freight is skyrocketing, and it's all in in capital equipment and capital expenditures. This isn't retail picking up. This is capital investment picking up. The reindustrialization of America is already well underway. So when you get orders, then you get production, then you get capital investment. The only thing that can follow that is robust hiring.
After decades of deindustrialization, the first stage of a manufacturing comeback will always show up in orders, machinery, construction, overtime, and productivity before it shows up fully in payroll.
And all of these are up. All of them. This stuff takes time. Like, think about it in terms of like what you've accomplished over the past year and a half personally in your own life. How long it takes things to, like a hiring process might take weeks. You're building factories takes time. Moving goods from place to place takes time. Nailing down massive contracts takes time. A year and a half is a very, very short period of time.
Payrolls. And that's exactly what has been happening under Trump's new economic plan. So let's put all that together and go back to what Trump said about Bernie Sanders and Bessent said about the problems of the free market. What you're seeing now is the effect of an industrial policy, a policy that says, no, we don't want to let some magic invisible hand run our economy. We need to be proactive in protecting and supporting our producers and our workforce from the magic of the marketplace. And the government plays a role in doing that with tariffs and tax policy and directed investment. That's what Trump was talking about when he said he had an economic plan, and many Sanders supporters came over to him because of it. Now, here's who's feeling the beginnings of Trump's economic plan first. Not Wall Street, not the Davos crowd, but young people who are responding to the administration's extraordinary skilled trades initiative. Here's an announcement from the White House last week that the fake news didn't report. It has to do with the administration's skilled trades initiative. And they report that 60% of Gen Z Americans plan to pursue skilled trade work this year. That half of Gen Z college graduates are pivoting to the trades. That the median pay in skilled trades now matches or exceeds many four-year degrees. And I might add, without a couple of $100,000 in college debt. And that 94% of U.S. contractors report labor
Cable. But where's my fix everything right now button? Fix everything now!
Trump's a Jew!
shortages, which are driving wages higher. Now, there is a reason that all of this is happening, and it's something that was hidden from the American people for over 100 years. This week, the same Peter Navarro who described the coming manufacturing jobs boom told you why all this is happening in a post honoring Henry Clay. In that
scroll down here, you can see what I've been spending my time listening to while I'm working. Paganini and Vivaldi and techno. Actually, I haven't listened to that one. That sounds pretty good. Tchaikovsky techno mix, deep focused music for work, deep chill step music. And then there's the sports podcast. Oh, All In podcast. Brent Johnson. Shout out Brent Johnson.
In that post, Navarro named the name that has been written out of the history books, the American system.
A nation that cannot produce what it needs is a vulnerable nation. Henry Clay asked a simple question. one that still echoes today. Does this policy make America stronger? Henry Clay's answer was the American system. With this American system, Clay took up Alexander Hamilton's mantle and embraced tariffs to build industry, finance to fuel growth, and infrastructure to bind a sprawling continent into a single economic unit. These policies turned the United States from a small infant country.
The wonky audio is on the recording of Navarro.
Into the world's most powerful economy. But over the decades, Washington drifted. We outsourced our strength and called it progress. We forgot the lessons that our country, that Henry Clay, had learned right from the start. Because to Henry Clay, the principle was simple. A nation that cannot make what it needs will not remain sovereign.
And no nation in the history of the planet has ever had more resources, has ever been blessed by God geographically as much as the United States of America.
That is what they don't want you to know about. That is the system that is not free market or free trade or socialism. And the American system has so terrified the British Empire that those two presidents you just saw in this video, Lincoln and McKinley, were assassinated. Donald Trump stands in that line, which is why he has been the target of multiple assassination attempts. Because the empire knows that the only way they can stop the United States is if they keep the American system hidden from you and keep you in the box they have created, choosing between two varieties of the British system, free markets or socialism. Well, this administration is telling you to get out of that box. The president is saying it, his Treasury Secretary is saying it, his whole team is saying it, and the numbers are proving that the real economy works outside of that box. Understanding that and bringing that new reality into the political debate is the key to winning the midterms. Promethean Action will give you the tools to do that. So become a paying member or a contributor and discover how to use the system that the empire has tried to bury. This has been your Saturday Wrap. Thanks for watching.
Please take a moment.
Discover how to use the system the empire has tried to vary. Whoever writes their scripts is quite good. Thank you again, Mr. Anonymous, the pay-pig mafia slave, sent over another tip and said, people need to see there is a middle ground between Nigerian tin shack markets connected to Amazon and Soviet ration distribution centers. Heaven forbid the men with guns decide we build a national HOA so we can have nice things that are publicly provided and privately earned. And you know, like, a lot of what's funny is that a lot of the technological, as we go through this sort of new industrial revolution of sorts, the demand for the public provision is going to increase and is going to inevitably is going to bring this conflict to a head about who is eligible. This is part of what drives this question of what is an American? What sort of American are you? Are you an American? American benefits are for Americans. In order for that to be the case, there has to be an understanding of what constitutes an American. You can push this conversation forward. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying that this is going to happen inevitably. This is an inevitable course of history that we're passing through. Bryce says you can just listen to MAGA grandmas and be in the King Pill Discord and know all you need to know. So true. So true. Thank you for that shout out to the King Pill Discord, Bryce, Mr. Sue, Slutty Milk. I see King Pill Discord members. Cable. Those are the ones I recognize here right now. Go join the King Pill Discord, folks. Kingpilled.com. You're really, really missing out if you're not there. Okay, so I just kind of pushed this one in here because I wanted to. It's kind of funny to think about. Funny not in a funny way. Matt Van Swole here says, honestly, the more you dig into arrest records, the more it becomes clear that something's going on here. I've found over 50 plus Hispanic men in my county in North Carolina that are labeled as white males in arrest records. Almost all of them are illegal aliens. How do you explain this? How do you explain this? Look at this. White male. Alexander Alvarez Sanchez. 5'8", 280. Statutory grape of a child. And an ice hold. Asael Alamon Santos, white male, driving while impaired, under an ice hold. What was this one? Diego Roman Bravo, white male. What was this? Driving while impaired. So think about this. You know, you look at crime statistics, and the crime statistics are clear that whites are like the least given over to criminality. And white crime statistics are artificially inflated. You know this isn't happening to anybody else. There's no white guy getting categorized as black. You might get like a black guy who's categorized as Hispanic or vice versa. But the white category is overinflated. And it's already the smallest one. So the real measure of white crime is lower than it actually is. White crime numbers, as small as they are themselves overinflated. Our vice president, I cannot imagine how people could not love this man. JD Vance says Henry Nowak died the same way a civilization dies. Abandoned, handcuffed by authorities who neither trusted nor cared for him, and accused of hate crimes he did not commit. This sentence is not about Henry Nowak. He died the same way a civilization dies. This is the point that JD's making. He's saying that our civilization is dying because it has been abandoned, handcuffed by authorities who neither trusted nor cared for it, and accused of hate crimes it did not commit. His murder is as tragic as it is enraging. He should still be alive today, and he would be if the last few generations of European elites had stood their ground against the politics of self-hatred and the mass invasion of migrants, many of whom despise the West and the people who love it. Henry was far from the first to so needlessly lose his life, and I fear he won't be the last. Each time a life like his is lost, the proper response, the only response, is righteous anger. I'm reminded of our most recent John Tent drop, when he talked about his reaction to the assassination of Charlie Kirk compared to many of the other religious right figures who were like, this is a time for forgiveness. This is a time where we need to have grace. And it's like, yeah, sure. But the way that is deployed seems much more like moral fagging and subversion. It's like this thing that you can't argue with, because if you try to argue with that, then it's like, do you not believe in forgiving your enemies? Do you not believe in having grace toward the people who have harmed you? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. This only gets rolled out at very particular moments, which is frankly, choosing those sorts of times, like after Charlie Kirk is assassinated, say, oh, no. This is not the time to be angry and heated. This is the time we must have cool minds and we must forgive, practice our forgiveness. That's taking the Lord's name in vain. Yes, we can forgive. We can also chop heads off. Welcome back to YouTube. Each time a life like his is lost, the proper response, the only response, is righteous anger. Look at that. Our vice president and John Q. Doyle on the same page. One of the most important things the Trump administration has proven to the world is that stopping the flow of mass migration and defending national sovereignty is a matter of political will and leadership. Exactly what I'm saying. Ultimately, you're not going to engineer the perfect system. The components of the system matter. But they only matter insofar as those who are tasked with maintaining the system are men of good character. Anything else is an excuse. It is because we love the West that we want to preserve it. We love our civilization. We love our country. We love our children. And nobody should ever die the way that Henry Nowak died. May God comfort those who loved him, and may God rest his soul. Our guy. 100% our. Imagine the Vice President of the United States saying this. An incredible time that we live in. Now, I'm not going to actually show the images there, but there's an interesting thing that I discovered reading through this conversation that Devin Erickson had with Grok. And I like Devin Erickson. I think he's a good poster. Obviously, those who know, we have our differences. But in this case here, there's a point I want to draw out of this interaction that I don't know if he wasn't quite grasping it. He tags Grok. He says, "It is a good idea to put a hemothorax patient's arms behind his back and hold them there." Grok says, "No, it's not a good idea. Hemothorax means blood in the pleural space, around the lungs, collapsing lung tissue and stressing circulation. Prone positioning or pulling arms behind the back restricts chest expansion and diaphragmatic breathing, exactly what a patient with reduced lung volume doesn't need. For subclavian or chest wall vascular injury, arm traction can stretch tissues and dislodge fragile early clots, accelerating bleed. Standard trauma care calls for minimal manipulation, position of comfort or semi-upright if tolerated, rapid paramedic handover, and transport. Restraint comes second to treating life-threatening chest injury once the scene is controlled." Devin Erickson replies, "What are the symptoms of hemothorax and how do they compare to those displayed by Henry Nowak? Legally, do the police have a duty to provide medical care to those in custody if they are in immediate medical danger of death or grave bodily harm?" So you can kind of see where he's going with this. Grok replies, "Hemothorax causes blood in the pleural space leading to lung collapse." So it goes through some of the details again. Henry Nowak repeatedly said, "I've been stabbed and I can't breathe," while conscious and speaking clearly. This matches acute respiratory distress from accumulating chest blood. His rapid unconsciousness after being pulled to the ground and handcuffed with arms behind his back aligns with worsened lung expansion and possible clot disruption in subclavian or chest vascular injury. In the UK, under PACE Code C, police have a clear duty of care to obtain immediate medical help for detainees showing injury or distress, especially life-threatening cases. Calling paramedics takes priority over restraint when someone reports penetrating chest trauma and breathing difficulty. So Devin says, "Please give a brief overview of UK law relating to criminally negligent homicide." And Grok says, "In England and Wales, criminally negligent homicide is not a standalone offense. It is prosecuted as gross negligence manslaughter, a common law crime. Prosecution must prove duty of care owed to the deceased, negligent breach of that duty, the breach caused death, it created a serious and obvious risk of death, and the negligence was so gross in all circumstances as to be criminal." And cites a little bit of the case law from it. So police owe detainees a duty of care. Gives the standards of what's required. Maximum sentence is life imprisonment. So Devin says, "Opine for each of those 5 criteria, whether it is clearly met in this case, clearly not met, or whether further medical evidence would be required for a conclusion." Here's where it's starting to get to the point. So, first of all, duty of care, clearly met. Police owe detainees, restrained persons a duty, reinforced by PACE Code C. 2, negligent breach, likely met. Dismissing repeated "I've been stabbed, I can't breathe" claims and applying arms behind the back restraints before paramedics for obvious chest trauma prioritize control over care. Number 3, did the breach cause death? Further medical evidence required. Time explains it. Number 4, serious and obvious risk of death. This was clearly met. A penetrating chest injury with dyspnea creates obvious life-threatening risk that officers should have recognized. And then 5, grossly criminal. Further evidence required. The grossly negligent manslaughter bar is high, quote, truly exceptionally bad. And here's where it starts going off the rails a little bit. Devin says grossly criminal is a subjective characterization. What, if any, are the established objective criteria in UK law for distinguishing whether negligence in number 2 arises to the level of criminality in number 5? In other words, the negligent breach rose to the level of criminality because it was so bad. A second-time donor. What do you say? Podcast name suggestion, Of Good Character. That's not too bad. Of Good Character. Welcome back, KP. Thank you. Appreciate you. I will add that to the list. I have one that I'm kind of narrowing in on, but I'm not completely settled yet. Of Good Character. Maybe it's I like wordplay. character. Thank you for that second-time donor. $29 tip. I'll have the special tip alerts for the special dollar amounts here soon. I've got a number of things that I'm going to have to fix. I can see from how things have gone on the stream here so far. Thank you for sticking with me here, folks. And please do model. What was the guy's name? Second-time donor. Please do model second-time donor and contribute to the stream. There is a goal going on over on YouTube. It's actually probably over now. I guess this is probably over because it says it's not, but with everything that dropped, I think it set it for an hour. But please do. There's gifted sub or super chat or tips.kingpill.com. So what Devin's taking issue with here is the grossly criminal being a subjective characterization. He's asking for established objective criteria. And Grok replies, in UK law, case law, the test for whether negligent breach reaches criminal gross negligence is whether, having regard to the risk of death, the conduct was so bad in all the circumstances as to amount to a criminal act or admission.
Welcome to the sup, homos!
Hey, that one worked. Gay Dave! 5 gifted subs over on Kick. Thank you, Dave. Hey, I got something for that.
You know, Dave Johnson.
Oh, that didn't work. That did not work.
You know, Dave Johnson is the gayest person to ever walk this green earth.
Here is the biggest, gayest man in the world.
Wow. So gay. So gay.
If you are gay Dave Johnson, then you get your own special little reaction meme. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you, man. So this term here, truly exceptionally bad. This is a departure from standards expected of a competent person in the defendant's position that is so gross and reprehensible it merits criminal punishment, not just civil negligence or serious error. So you could have serious error, you could have something where they're civilly liable, or something is so gross, so reprehensible that it actually merits criminal punishment. It's an objective jury question, not subjective opinion. Well, what is a jury question? The fact that 12 or however many people decide on it doesn't make it objective. Something doesn't become objective because you load it up with enough subjectivity. A jury produces a subjective opinion about a subjective perception of something they didn't experience. And this is a thing about law. This is what I wanted to highlight out of this, that law is not objective. Criminal law in this sense. It's not objective. You see this all over the place. If you watch a crime show, you'll see this regularly. That's how base level it is. The standard of a reasonable person. What would a reasonable person do? How would a reasonable person act in this case? This is a standard that's used all the time. It is necessarily subjective. All law enforced by the state is subjective. You are not going to have an objective enforcement of the law because the law is enforced by people, and people are subjects, they're not objects. He says, your answer is merely reiterated subjective descriptions of conduct, quote, so bad as to amount, etc. You then describe this as an objective jury question. Based on your description, it's not. An objective question can be decided by criteria of fact. You've supplied no such criteria. If no such criteria exist for juries to apply that you're aware of, please acknowledge that this is a subjective decision since I permitted you this answer in my previous question. Grok says the test remains objective overall. See, he says breach, risk foreseeability and causation are measured against the standard of a reasonably competent person in the defendant's position, a trained officer, using facts known or reasonably knowable at the time, not the individual's own beliefs. But that's still a subjective standard. You cannot get away from the subjective standard. There will always be a subjective standard at the end of it. And it wouldn't even matter if you had a jury of one's peers, actual peers. You're still going to get a subjective decision. You're just getting a subjective decision from 12 people instead of 1. That doesn't make it less subjective. You can't actually, history is not objective. Facts about what happened in the past are not actually facts. We can't know the facts because you can't experience the past. You can't experience your own past. You did experience your past, but you can't go back and experience it again. And other people can't experience your past. So history is stories. Stories that we tell, and then enough people decide to believe a particular story and it gets accepted as fact, but it isn't fact and can't be fact. And so I'll say again, all of these things depend upon the leadership, the people in power, and ultimately this scales down fractally. Each person has their own little crumb of power, their own little implementation of leadership in their own domain. And when everyone in the society collectively lives up to their own potential, upholds their own standard of leadership according to their domain, then the rest of society begins to function as a more and more competent organism. As each individual person within the society begins orienting themselves toward truth, all of society begins orienting towards truth. Speaking of jury trials, there's a video here from the UK of Mohammed Fahir Maaz and Mohammed Ahmad have been cleared over the alleged assault of a male police officer at Manchester Airport. 2 juries failed to reach a verdict, and no further trial will take place. There's video of it happening here. Tom Harwood here says Lee Kuan Yew has abolished trial by jury in Singapore after determining that it was too easy for defense lawyers to appeal to racial and religious biases of juries in multicultural Singapore. He writes in his memoirs how, as a young lawyer, he was able to get 3 clients acquitted who he was sure did commit murder. He writes that he, quote, worked on the weaknesses of the jury, their biases, their prejudices, their reluctance, really, to find 4 Muslims guilty of killing in cold blood or in a heat of great passion, religious passion, an RAF officer, his wife, and child. He writes, thank you, Mr. Anonymous. He writes, the judge was thoroughly disgusted. I went home feeling quite sick because I knew I'd discharged my duty as required of me, but I knew I had done wrong. Study after study shows that in multi-ethnic societies, there is significant in-group bias on juries. Similar to what happened with O.J. Simpson, arguably, yes, yeah. Yeah, see, the thing about a jury of your peers is those peers need to be close peers. Or it is not it's not actually a jury of your peers. And the way that our jury system has evolved now, like think about the types of people who wind up in jury service. Thank you, Bobby Ballbags, for the $1.99 super chat. Think about the people who wind up in jury service. Like, you're going to get retirees. You're going to get people who can't get out of work. They're not able to get out of work because either the work that they do isn't important enough, or they don't know how, or for whatever reason. Mr. Anonymous, the PayPig Mafia slave, said, I start work soon so I can slave away for future chat donations. Objectivity only applies to things without agency. Anytime agency is used, subjectivity follows. Yes, correct. And agency, because agency and subjectivity, only subjects have agency. Thank you for the for slaving away for future pay piggy action. Caradwin says, okay, so what's the better alternative? No idea. I mean, the better alternative is have better people. Really, like that's kind of what it comes down to. You got to have better people. You got to have like the system itself is. If the system was not a jury, it was actually just a judge based system, or it was the king rules that way. Like the nature of the system is not going to breed the outcome just because of the nature of the system. Again, it's going to come back to the people that comprise the system, the people who actually have agency within the system, the people who exercise that agency and what they exercise that agency toward. See you, Mr. Anonymous. Okay, so here's this longer clip now of from Tommy's podcast with Colonel Watkins, Joaquin Flores, and Ian Burlingame, and they spent the first half or so of the show talking about the various different threats that Trump is facing, and like what sort of things that his team are or are not doing, and what the nature of those threats are, and sort of the time that we live in right now. And so they kind of each bring their own perspective to bear on it. But then they started zooming out a little bit, and they have a back and forth here. There's a number of things that I want to get. The very first part of this, they're talking about Trump and how, you know, the Nessun Dorma thing I played at the beginning reminded of that perhaps a little bit. And then they talk about race and identity and the American ethnos, and the way that when people are trying to collapse a society, the way that they go about it, in a way historically the different intelligence communities and stuff have gone about it. But Joaquin winds up going on just an absolutely epic rant in this, and it sparked a lot of thoughts for me. So let's rock and roll with this.
Just as another note, just more of a kind of random factoid or a puzzle piece is what Colonel Watkins was saying about, you know, he's been involved in these nefarious networks, these unofficial channels for his entire life. And I always
he being Trump
point to, I interviewed years ago, Fred Burton, who's the head of, I think, Stratfor, and he was in the DSS, the Diplomatic Security Service. And he talked about, and I believe he wrote the book before Trump was president. So there was no like baggage around Orange Man, good or bad. And he's talking about going into the control room of one of his casinos. Yeah. And this is a guy from the government, and he's going like, this is top dog shit, like in a good way. Like this is, like, no, this isn't the NSA, but he was like, this is better than most like federal organizations have been in. And that was just one of his casino rooms. He was like, this guy sees everything. So on top of what you were saying about being involved with all these networks, he also seems to, in the book, he's talking about like the 80s. So, you know, 45 years ago, 46 years ago, about this guy who's got this control room that puts every other casino control room, even some federal control rooms, to shame. And he was like, wow, this guy's buttoned up. So, you know, does that ensure he's great? No, he's a human and he's flawed. But I look at those two things, I'm like, so that's a guy that's been in, you know, brushing shoulders with, even if not involved with the dark world, and also knows to keep receipts. That's what I take away from it.
Well, if you've been
it's funny how Trump has this reputation for being like credulous or vapid or a buffoon or incompetent, or he's one of the most competent people who has ever lived, and he's got a very interesting backstory, like his connection to English royalty, his connection to Nikola Tesla through his uncle, his Roy Cohn. All his background was really, this is one of the things they were talking about, is that there's these types of people that exist at these strata of society that are groomed, like not. This is just kind of like a fact of life, that they're being prepared for particular roles. This is kind of like how aristocracy and how, you know, like the landed gentry, and like there's a particular way that you behave when you are that type of person. And guys like Trump, who fill that particular role, they're being drawn into their duty. They're being drawn into their destiny, for better or for worse. But you have to ignore so much. You have to just like plug your ears and to not recognize just how much of a competent operator Donald Trump is and has been for his entire life.
Selected and groomed from a young age, all these things you're going to be taught these things. The very best people are going to be brought to you.
Absolutely.
The other piece, just as somewhat of a side, is if anybody doesn't know, the collections are the largest intel collection operations in the history of the world. And they've got all kinds of collection capabilities and sensors and everything else in casinos. It's astounding what's built into the infrastructure of casinos.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So can I just
yeah.
That
now this is wild. So the thing I was talking about the sort of like the Nessun Dorma thing, and like Trump with his awareness of casinos, and listen to this. I'd known the individual facts on this, but I'd never actually like connected these dots the way that Colonel Watkins is about to connect them.
when I was doing the show with King Khan and Ash in America about the CIA's latest book called Stolen Elections, and it's literally written by a CIA. Well, the material the material is provided from the CIA. It was written by Ralph Perzullo, whose dad was CIA under Foreign Service, State Department cover. So it was a CIA book. Do you know that the company that everybody likes to claim is from Venezuela called Smartmatic's initial electronic voting was from Italy, from a Olivietta that was, they used old casino machines for their initial machines. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, it's the same with Dominion is the same. Yeah.
So
and what is that? That's that probabilistic stuff on the back end of the slot machines.
It was literally slot machine technology that they created at Smartmatic from. And
the Smartmatic voting machines were based off of slot machine technology. It's a Venezuelan company, supposedly. It's out of Venezuela. But it originally came from Italy. Gee, what connection would Italy and Venezuela have? You know, Venezuela is like this thing over here in the Western Hemisphere, and it's just like this Latin American country that's like some communists in it, and Donald Trump just decided to go after him to like button up the hemisphere or something like that. And then there's everything over happening in Europe and Iran, and these like totally separate domains. Why are they taking casino technology from Italy and forming a company in Venezuela where they use that slot machine technology to make voting machines that then get used in American elections?
It was all touted as Venezuelan, but it wasn't. Tax from Venezuela.
House always wins.
Well, the House always wins. And what do? They can't rig it, so they have to make it look like randomness. And so they use...
Watch Tommy's head start exploding here.
Random number generators that are then qualified in certain ways.
But the thing is a random number generator is the great thing about it.
Yeah, but they're the way in which they have random number generators, and then they have qualifiers on the random number the numbers that are generated, so that the House always wins. Well, isn't that exactly what you wanted?
Wait. Qualifiers on a random number generator. Isn't that kind of like a qualified random number generator? This is one of these like special newfangled technologies where you have a random number generator, but you put some qualifications on it.
Want an election cycle? So it looks random?
I could not believe it when I was reading that book, because of course they don't say any of that in there. I could go in and actually research like every paragraph of that book, and I was astounded.
That makes so much sense.
You can see Tommy's over here is like wheels are just like
switch the dealer, bring out the cooler when the people start winning. Like, motherfucker.
Well, that's why they're terrified of ID and non-mail-in ballots, because now you got a card dealer and you got a set deck of cards.
Yeah,
you don't have a random number generators that are now tweaked. I want
to. Bryce over on YouTube says, if you didn't think Trump doesn't know this, then man, the casino man, the dude whose casino security operation was akin to the NSA, you think that he is not aware of the way that these voting machines work?
I want to go back, Joaquin, to something, because I think it's very important. A couple of times in conversations, referenced, maybe you're not an Anglo. You are an Anglo. See, one of the things... Well,
you got a contrarian hair today.
Intimated, yeah. So
this is up on the wrong side of the bed.
I'm very tired today. I've been moving for 5 days, so forgive me.
My condolences.
Give me a second.
This was like the third or fourth time in the conversation that Joaquin had said something. Then Ian was like, "Actually, I'm going to take issue with what you said."
We are obviously heading into a period where the next threat vector is ethnic war. That's all they have left. Pretty much everything else is being taken off the table. You can see what's happening with the information that's coming out of the UK. They don't have to have any new incidents in the UK. They've already had so many that they just need to make stuff public that goes back over a decade, and it's atrocious. And it's not just in the UK, it's here, it's in Australia, et cetera, et cetera. And so their next move is to go hard ethnic racial hatred. It's a playbook they've done again and again and again and again, and they've been setting it up for 40 years. One of the things that we in the Anglosphere, we can't help Europe until we help ourselves, so I'm going to leave that one be. But, we in the Anglosphere need to not fall for the psyop that just because somebody's slightly brown or has slightly brown people, in their ancestry, that they're not on our team and they're not part of our team. I don't adhere to the belief system that because somebody's half black or Mexican or whatever, that automatically we just give them to the other, to the other team.
What about an American who's just mostly black? I mean, we know it's America, so they've got white in them somewhere. But I mean, what about anyone who's just an American, a patriot? Like, what's the particular fixation on like inheritable, like,
because when this goes ethnic, it goes that way. It goes to we don't know exactly how to determine who's a good American and who's not. That's been.
So there's an interesting. This is what I've talked about, the identity. Like there's going to be you get this conflict point where people are driven into opposite sides, and then there's this question of identity. This is what they're starting to talk around here. And if you've listened to Ian and Joaquin here, you'll recognize that throughout the part of this conversation here, they're not agreeing. They're respectful and cordial, and they got respect for each other and stuff, but they're not agreeing. And I think that look at the tack that Joaquin takes here in responding, because what EM is doing, or at least what he thinks he is doing, or what he appears to be doing, is describing, saying this is what's going to happen, this is what is happening. Like it's like the weather report kind of. He's just predicting the weather. But like I said earlier on the show, like I like the way that Joaquin's brain works. Just a SoCal kid who was involved in labor organizing for a while, and then moved to Serbia and became Orthodox, and is like like an intelligence guy now, basically.
That's the book I just wrote, This Our Restoration, and other things I've written. But when this goes hard ethno-nationalist, it really goes down to what people look like, because how else do you know? And
how else do you know what?
Who to fight with, who to stand with, who to not know, who isn't an insider threat. That's
exactly where you're going to get betrayed. That's where the false trusts always get built. I mean, how did white people end up in this situation in the first place, EM?
I don't understand your question.
Well, how did it happen in the first place? If you're talking about when things go like ethno-nationalist, that the only way to know if someone's on your team or on your side is based on what they look like, right? Like that's kind of how.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
I am not articulating that for my belief system. I got.
I know you're saying when things go that way.
When they go that way. And so,
So it kind of glossed past this point that Joaquin made, but I think it was worth dwelling on. That he said, how did white people get to this point in the first place? And this is my thing. Like Jason Mirachuk has said, there's no such thing as magical white people. Like I prefer to be around white people. I'm a white person. I love white people. I predominantly want to be around white people. I prefer the societies that white people create, by and large. But I'm also keenly aware of the fact that like the worst people on the planet are white shit libs. And ultimately, like, you know, and just kind of like speaking in sort of like broad generic terms, then okay, sure. Like speaking at a like systemic level, you can cogently talk about white people. But when you reach the particular, which is how you actually interact with other people, you don't interact with the system, you interact with people. You interact with particular manifestations. You interact with the subjects. You're not interacting with the object of the system. You're interacting with the subjects of the individuals that you're interacting with. And so there's all sorts of the bugs start flying here, and the error code starts kicking off, because it's like, well, what are, number one, who now gets categorized as white? So we gotta have that whole conversation. Then, even if we do, what's the point that Joaquin's making here is, well, once upon a time you had white people who lived all around white people, and you had non-white people who lived all around non-white people, to the extent that you can use these designators. I mean, all of European history is Europeans betraying and fighting and like engaged in all out extinguishing war against each other. Like it's European history is white people fighting with white people. So this idea that there's like, oh, if we're white, then we're just on the same team, and if we're not white, we're not on the same team, becomes like a self-manifesting thing. And this is kind of what Joaquin's drilling down on here. Is he says you see this as something that's outside of you. You're like, oh, I don't believe this, but this is just how it works. Because ultimately, when when the rubber meets the road, I just have to go off of what's like visually there. And if I'm walking down the street at night and I see a black guy, I'm going to react differently than I'm walking down the street and I see a white guy. The visual thing is real. But if you believe that this is going to be the case, then you're going to begin to act as if this is going to be the case. And you actually become the instigator of the race war. Well, they're going to start a race war against us, so we need to start a race war. We need to act as if a race war exists. And is there a distinction there between starting a race war and acting as if a race war exists? You know, on the margins, it gets kind of fuzzy. This is and I'm not saying that this isn't necessarily a criticism of EM. I don't necessarily disagree with him, but this is a thorny issue because like ultimately in a time of crisis, you need to be able to thin slice. You need to be able to just look at someone, make a snap judgment when you're like, in a foxhole or whatever. Now, leaving aside the fact that the overwhelming majority of people are never going to wind up in a foxhole, metaphorically or literally. Even the bloodiest war in American history fought on American soil involved a small fraction of the population. There was like 3% of the population, I think, was actually involved in the so-called Revolutionary War. And like the vast majority of people aren't actually going to have the exigent moment where crisis, violence. Like the vast majority of people will not experience that. In their own little ways, they're going to have to grapple with this on a relative basis, day to day, or sometimes and not others. But this is I think this distinction that Joaquin is making here is very good, and it's particularly apropos for the United States, because the United States, like Europe itself, has always been a multi-ethnic region. It has always been a multi-ethnic region, a multiracial region. The difference between the United States and Europe is that there isn't a European identity. There isn't really anybody. There's kind of maybe like a novelty thing that some like cosmopolitan urbane libs or something might participate in. But most Europeans don't see themselves as Europeans per se. There's an effort to try to create that. But Europe has existed as a glorified peninsula full of a whole bunch of different races and ethnicities, all kind of hodgepodge together. They didn't have the sense of us as one people, and so they fought against each other. But this sense of us all being the same people actually can drive the conflict even more. You get the mimesis starts flowing here, or we have more conflict with the people who are more like us. So America is actually a kind of a unique experiment in the sense that it's a region that always has been, always will be, both. I don't know about multi-ethnic, because now you have to start defining your terms a little more rigidly, but it's going to be multiracial for sure. America will always be multiracial. It'll always be overwhelmingly, like predominantly white people. That's going to continue to be the case, by the way. Like with the white population as a percentage of the population this is almost like the wheels are already in motion. The percentage of the population that's white is going to grow going forward. It's not going to fall, but there's always going to be a subset of blacks, American blacks, who are distinct from Africans, who are distinct from South American blacks, and Hispanics. And then you're going to have your smattering of various forms of Asians who are American and who are integrated as Americans, and they're not going to stop being that way. You're not going to have an exclusively white America, even if you could even define that. It's not going to happen. These are trajectories that are so so far underway that you're not going to do anything to stop them. You have to live with it. You have to figure out how to live with it and how to navigate within this. So then here's the dilemma. Yes, it's true that there are people who are attempting to foment a race war. It's also true that I didn't really think that much about being white until people started talking about my need to be a second-class citizen because I'm so-called white. Now all of a sudden being white becomes a lot more relevant to me. So if people are driving a race war, then how do you live where there's a race war happening without participating in the race war? Because like as a matter of self-preservation, you need to be able to look at someone and tell, are they on my team or not? But then, yeah, you add another layer of complexity to this, as Joaquin's pointing out, which is you can't even trust the white people. Because how did we get to this place in the first place? Well, it was because white people betrayed other white people. So you could go trust the white person, and that could be the one who turns you in or robs you or like gives away the code to your house or, whatever.
Well, it would be a belief that because we're talking about an event that hasn't occurred. So you're talking about your assessment is that things will go that way.
That's historically the way they go. And that's the narrative and dialogues that are being put out there now. You can see the gossamer thread of the narrative crafting in Twitter alone, right? You can see it.
You can see that, yeah.
The whole purpose of the mass forced immigration into the West has been to see this narrative, whether or not it actually happened.
What's up, Georgie, over in the YouTube chat? Yes, the Astrolabe is streaming on YouTube once again for as long as YouTube will allow it. I don't want to change much about the show, so I have to be a little careful about some things, but I'd like to keep the show as much like it has been before, and I've been uploading the episodes, so live streaming is a little different than uploading for certain things, but we're hoping that it's going to stay on YouTube. Please do like the stream, contribute, be a pay piggy, contribute to the overall goal by sending a super chat or gifting subs or memberships or best of all, go to tips.kingpill.com and support your streamer.
Happens or not, it is part of a pre-planning event to be able to use that potentially in the future. And you already see it here in America. The people on social media are saying basically carte blanche, all Muslims are bad. And all whatever is bad. And from all the different perspectives, they're already seeding that narrative. I think those of us.
Thank you for the gifted sub, Emperor Atreides. Ujui? Uijui? Uijui? Jewy?
I've got bad news for you. You're Jewish.
Us that are Americans of all races and creeds and everything else, all Americans are going to have to stand up when and if that ever comes about, regardless of what you look like.
So she's kind of she calls him a unifier. I think she refers to MLK at some point later in here. There's and obviously, there's a boomer thing that is they're not going to stop boomering, and we can't hate them for their boomering. We must make up for their boomering. We must redeem the boomers. But she's kind of begging the question here. Like the whole question over this is going to be like, what kind of American are you? Who is an American? All of us Americans need to stand together and protect our right to be Americans. Well, you're begging the question. The entire question here is, what is an American? Am I an American? Are you an American? Is this person is Jamal over there American? Is Abdul an American? Is Pajita an American? That is what is up for debate. And I hate to break it to you guys, but there are some Jamals and Abduls and Pajits who are going to be Americans. There are examples of ones who can assimilate and who will assimilate and who have assimilated. And if you were to fast forward and look back at the great filtering mechanism that we go through, there are going to be particulars that filter through that are disjunctive from what their phenotype might indicate. There are exceptions to the rule, but that the exceptions prove the rule. They don't negate the rule. So the whole question here is with this race war is being driven, and we'll come back to Joaquin here in a minute. He has another great little monologue. The race war is being driven as because there's an inevitability to this question about the identity of an American. This is like a spiritual phenomenon that people, even if they couldn't articulate it or they aren't aware of it, they're being touched by this spirit of the emerging American ethnos. And those who fear it or are opposed to it want to frame that. And so they're going to use the race war as a way of framing that debate, even though race actually is not, like, in broad terms, it can be a useful proxy, but it can fail in both directions.
And the Americans, they're going to try to create a narrative that is going to section people off by ethnic backgrounds. We, as a people, have to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah. So this is by far, they did this they know exactly what they're doing. The financialists know exactly what they're doing. Rome knows exactly what they've been doing because they've been doing it for over 2,000 years.
They did it in World War II with the Japanese.
Well, that's one
Not
piece.
unprecedented. This is exactly where they go with stuff like that.
So the Romans did
more boomerang, because, like, this is not a product of the what happened with the Japanese was not a product of the financialists per se. Like the financialists, as EM refers to them, they obviously had a vested interest. They had a hand in it. They perpetrated it. However, like, the idea that you would be at war with another group of people, like declared in open warfare with another group of people, and these people are like a generation or not even, they're like either 0 generation or 1 generation from those people, like, yeah, they're going to get rounded up. That's what happens in war. That's what's happened in war for all of human history. This is not a function of the financial. This is a function of human societies. When there is a war and there's a clearly defined enemy, that clearly defined enemy is going to be treated as an enemy. They're going to be assumed as an enemy before they have an opportunity to prove themselves as friend, because this is the nature of war. But what's happening now is that in the cycles of conflict that we're going through, the point that we're at right now is one where it isn't clearly identifiable who is a friend and who is an enemy. This is the substance of the whole debate, is how do you identify who's a friend and who's an enemy?
Did this. This was how the Roman Empire maintained control without they never had enough legions to maintain control. This is how they did it. They forced move populations around and then set them against one another.
Yes.
2,000 years later, Eastern Europe is still dealing with that.
That is clearly
2,000 years later.
Yeah, that is clearly what all of these gladio destabilization efforts have been all about. You destabilize a country, you create the refugees, you human traffic the refugees, and you bank them in these Western countries to use later. And then, oh, by the way, the most nefarious part of that entire thing is if your destabilization is not effective, you embed your operators because you didn't take control of the country, and they're going to be hunted down and killed. You embed your trained assassins and agents into that refugee, and you settle them in America next door to normal Americans. That has been documented from World War II to Afghanistan. That's what the guy was one of those that came over from Afghanistan that shot the 2 National Guard guy in Washington, D.C. He was a CIA operative trained to execute people and was embedded in the refugee population that came to America from Afghanistan. This is a known tactic.
And you,
she signal boosted something that we were talking about in the King Pill Discord last night. I think it was last night. I may not have actually said anything. I saw something and had thoughts about it, and I think I didn't reply. But people speculating that the Maryland man, the Kilmar Abrego Garcia, that part of the reason why there's such a big hullabaloo over him is that he was the one who took out the guys who took out Seth Rich. If you guys have been around long enough to know who Seth Rich was, you remember Seth Rich was killed. He was in the DNC source for WikiLeaks for Julian Assange, and at the time with Hillary and everything, Seth Rich was taken out. And they blamed the Russians for hacking the DNC and all that sort of thing. So now I haven't seen any proof of this. It's a fun one for the headcanon, and it definitely would connect a lot of dots if that's the case. That's what he was here for. That's why they just keep going round and round and round with him, because they're trying to protect an asset. That he was the guy who took out the guys who took out Seth Rich. So they kind of fumbled the job. They didn't kill him immediately. He died in the hospital later on, and then they cleaned up loose ends. That was because one of the 2 guys, they were murdered I think it was in South Carolina, like 7 hours after Seth Rich was shot. And one of them was one of Hillary's staffers, which is kind of weird. In the middle of the campaign, all of a sudden one of her staffers winds up being brutally murdered. And this is the first I've ever heard of it. I was following this stuff pretty closely back then. This is the first I've ever even heard of this, that one of her staffers was one of these, it was two Hispanic guys. One of them was killed, or both of them were killed, and one of them was one of her staffers. That's, you think that would have been like a great sympathy story or something for her campaign. For some reason, it was buried and it wasn't actually brought up. So that begs a bunch of questions.
You embed your people deep undercover into street gangs and criminal organizations.
You have to look no farther than the Cuban exiles to show that.
That's the best one.
Yeah, it's the most
right.
perfect one.
So, we are under duress in all kinds of ways, and we are coming to a place to where
Axios Coaching over on YouTube says nesting dolls of gang warfare. At one level, you'll have the crude biological aspect of group identity, but you'll also have to wage the internal conflict within those same boundaries. Right. Yeah, there's your fractals. You have the you've got the like in prison, you got the whites and you got the Mexicans and you got the blacks. But then within the whites, you have to sort out like who's the traitor, who's actually on the team, who's trying to take advantage of the team, who's the rat, who's the who's the subverter. It has to be sorted out at both levels. So reducing it just simply to race, race is a function of it, but it's also not the end all be all of it. He said these fights are also not exclusive to themselves. Yes. And then Caradwin here said it's not going to break down along racial lines. It's going to break down along culture or religion lines again, as it always does. You're spoilers there, Caradwin.
We are going to be forced, most likely, we are going to be forced to, through blood, to figure out who we are and who we aren't.
It's a very interesting opinion, EM. I would push back a little bit on the blood ethnic concept, because that is one that I would start by saying that I agree that when you have a societal breakdown or conflicts between
here's where Joaquin starts cooking
societies, that there's an ethnic dimension. But we create value judgments, and there are social constructs, and the value that we place in things are thought systems that we overlay onto things that might pertain to something measurable, something observable in a microscope. But we're free to choose the values that we have. And living in a place that experienced a total war and a conflict only 30 years ago, 28 years ago, things broke here in Yugoslavia. My wife survived the U.S. bombing. Things broke down along ethnic lines, but they're not this kind of Anglo-German concept that many Americans are sometimes over-involved and over-committed to in terms of phenotypes. They were definitely ethnic divisions, but they were religious-based ethnic divisions. And religion is also a very strong narrative in mythology like race. And I would also say that when you think about the Muslim world, these are, again, it's religion that's keeping that ummah or caliphate as a concept, but the ethnicities are all, Algerians and Moroccans are so different from Lebanese, and then you talk about, in the Philippines or Malaysia or something. I mean, you have Islam is a religion, and, I think the United States is a Christian country, and I think that that if a person had a more early 20th century or late 19th century concept of the imperative of divisions occurring along the axis of phenotypic traits that are associated with 18th and 19th century whiteness, that can be a self-fulfilling prophecy, or we might end up, placing our eggs in the wrong basket, or, putting all of our chips on the wrong, square. So I think
what he's driving at here is I was spoiling it a little bit earlier, like EM is looking at this as like, this is what they're going to do to us. And so we need to get out ahead of that. So they're going to foment a race war. So we need to start clarifying where we stand with respect to the race war. And Joaquin's pointing out that process, even if you're engaging in that process with that you're trying to minimize the impact of the race war on you and yours, you're actually volunteering in the race war. This is the matters of identity are actually quite difficult in a world that's been as globalized and deracinated as ours has been. So they become self-fulfilling when you it's one of the things about this the notion of race the way that it's typically talked about, and the sort of the pedestal that it's elevated to in American society. And it's like this is a part of American history. This is a part of the emergence of the American ethnos, is actually confronting and grappling with the phenomenon of race, and dealing with the fact that it doesn't break down cleanly one way or the other. America is a multiracial ethnos, and it's going to continue to be a multiracial ethnos. And Americans experience that differently than just about anybody else. Like he says, he's saying it sort of kind of a little pejoratively, like the 18th and 19th century conception of whiteness. And while I'm like, on one hand, I agree that there's a let's say like a constructed nature to that 18th and 19th century conception of whiteness. At the same time, it also is something that, like, there's the ought and there's the is. You could say, well, that ought not be the way that people think about race, but it also, in America, it is the way that people think about race. It's something that's present as part of the historical happenstance of the progression of America and Americans. But yeah, I'm gonna let him continue because he keeps unpacking this.
I would agree wholeheartedly that when there are conflicts within a society or between societies, that ethnic divisions are exploitable, and you can also predict certain lineups. But identity is really probably the more overarching and useful one that would describe more than just, like, ethnicity might be one type of identity, and then the racial concept of ethnicity is a certain type of ethnic thing. So I would agree with the parent part of your prognosis, but that it would be that a person is Anglo or this or that is definitely something I've encountered in the United States. Definitely I've encountered in the Southwest a lot. I'm definitely understand my people, man, from Orange County and Anaheim and the Inland Empire. I've been there. I've done that. I know I had biker friends, and I know guys from prison and stuff. So, but I think that that's one narrative of many. And when you look at how things happen in the Balkans, like, there's no ethnic, in the sense that you talk about ethnicity, difference between Serbs and Croats. But it was an inter-ethnic conflict because it was the identity of religion and then these overlapping histories, and some of those are false. The construct between a German or a Slav as a construct. I mean, there are so many Germans that are just Slavicized Germans.
That's a fundamentally different concept or mixture that goes back thousands of years.
Yeah,
fundamentally
I'm saying as a parent, as a categorical umbrella of conflict on identity grounds, I'm saying I agree that when shit hits the fan, that you have identity-driven conflict. But I'm pushing back against the notion or the prediction that it goes down along that second or third tier type of ethnic, which is 20th century racial phenotypic conflict. I'm saying that's
the point right there. So you have like identity as like the overarching category, and then identity can break down along ethnic lines, and then ethnic lines can break down along racial lines. Now, there's something that is like I think Joaquin is pushing back against this conception of race, and I understand, and I don't necessarily disagree with him, but I also at the same time I'm like, this is something Americans viewing race and ethnicity, which are different things but are often treated interchangeably for Americans. Like this is a fact of Americanness. This is a fact of Americanism that Americans tend to think in these ways. But like when he describes the breakdown of the Serbs and Croats, like we would look at that and be like, there's not a distinction here. In the American context, there is not a substantial distinction between the Serbs and the Croats. A lot of the European racial and ethnic conflicts that Europeans have had seem kind of, to the average American, it's kind of like, you have like French and English, but it's like we accept the fact that there was all sorts of wars and conflicts between Frenchmen and Englishmen, and there's still like a tension there. But then you're like, oh, they're white people. White is just this category that includes Frenchmen and English and Germans and then like Eastern Europeans, and then some Italians, and then some Spaniards, but not other Spaniards, and some Portuguese and other. Once you start trying, if you try to build a category that says, okay, these people are white and these people aren't, then even just within Europe, if you're going to go phenotypically, if you're going to go genetically, if you like in terms of genetic lineage, it starts breaking down very quickly. But in America, we don't look at race or ethnicity the way that some of these other areas do. So like the Serbs and the Croats, for them, it was about the history of their people. And how is that history embodied? That history is embodied in their traditions, in their distinct traditions and rituals that were proper to them as a people, that identified them as a people. Straight Buster said Christianity as an ethnos. This is a semi, not even ancient, it's just a more archaic conception of Christianity, but it's also what Christianity was for the majority of its history. Christianity was seen as an ethnos. You were part of the race of Christians. And what identifies that race? It's identified by what rituals do you participate in? What traditions do you adhere to?
It's only one of many possible.
Unfortunately, this is what the two-tiered policing has been all about, is forcing that.
Absolutely. I'm with you. I'm with you. And what Colonel Watkins was saying as well, they're trying to create this paradigm. So I guess, are we feeding into it? Are we betting on it? Are we going to be tools in that?
Well, let's ask another question. Does the general populace matter in how they define themselves when it goes to blood? Or is it the people who are doing the blood, which is a small percentage? And
I think this is a valid retort from EM, even though I generally agree with Joaquin's perspective a little more. History Busters is telling Italian the same as a Sicilian and see how that goes. Yeah. You can see EM's paganism. He's an actual pagan. You can see the way that it informs the way he looks at some of this stuff. But like there, some of these things are, you can get academic about it, but then the actual facts on the ground, the way that Americans experience matters of race is unique and particular to Americans, and it's real whether it's valid or not.
When it comes down to these things and we assess them afterwards, we look at, oh, look, there was all this complexity and there was all this, greater distinction. But when you actually look at the bloodshedding, it was pretty straightforward.
With what? When? With what?
Even there in Yugoslavia, when it came down, if you look at the actual fighters and the actual individuals on individuals versus the larger movements and the larger community and how it was assessed later, it's very, very different than in the time that the bloodshedding is happening. And that changes and adapts too over time, as that it goes from general bloodshed to more refined, and then it's alliances and that have to be made in order for factions to survive, etc. So things shape up over time. This same thing happened with the Spanish Civil War that started.
Trust Lansar says, I doubt a European Christian would ever view a Nigerian Christian as belonging to the same ethnos. Perhaps not in the past, but what if you have a Nigerian Christian who acts like a European Christian, who assimilates as a European Christian? We've got there's plenty of saints, Christian saints, St. Moses the Black, that even today you've got, for example, Father Turbo. Father Turbo is black. He's a Christian. He's assimilated to white culture. The dude was a straight edge, punk. A tattoo artist, he's such an American Ortho bro. Yeah. So this is the thing, is that it comes down to how you behave, and how you behave is expressed in what rituals, what traditions do you participate in? Do you act like an American? Do you behave like an American? An American has the behavior of an American has a long and storied tradition. When you behave like an American, which is largely going to overlap with what people's conception of behaving like a white person is, because of the realities of who settled America, then those who behave like Americans are Americans. It was kind of a truism, but it's true. So Americans don't necessarily think of ethnicity in these sorts of terms, but Americans don't think of Christianity as being a race either. But go back even go other parts of the world today, but you go back maybe a couple of centuries, and the notion of Christianity as a race was much more coherent. Now, a lot of this is I don't want to piss off our beloved Protestant friends, because we like to keep some of you guys around. But this is a downstream consequence of the Protestant Reformation, really, that Christianity became this diffuse thing that has all sorts of different expressions, where when you say I'm a Christian, you can have all sorts of breakdowns and like infinite like multiplicity of expressions of quote unquote Christianity. That broke down this notion of Christianity as a race. But if you think about what informs, like you can think about this on a genetic level. If you think of race and genetics being like one and the same, then what would inform someone like epigenetically? Think about it over a long enough time horizon. You live in the same place, you eat the same food, you behave in the same way, you sleep at the same time, you wake up at the same time, you experience the same seasons, you experience the same types of pressure differentials and everything, because you're in the same place doing the same things with other people at the same time. It's only going to take a couple generations before the epigenetic consequences take hold. And the people who are in close proximity to each other, participating in the same rituals and habits together, are gradually becoming more and more alike. And this is actually something that EM gets into here, or that Joaquin gets into here in a sec.
It, officially started in 1936, but all the alignment stuff started 20 years or 10 years earlier. And the Spanish Civil War didn't shape up until the way it was until late 37, early 38 in terms of the factions. It's, clearly defined factions and territories, et cetera.
So can I make just an observation here from my research? And again, obviously, I'm not an operator like you guys. What it appears to me when you go back and to your point about the initial versus the long term.
As it shapes up, yeah.
So the initial, when you read CIA declassified documents, when they have done destabilization, they generally infiltrate both sides.
Oh, yeah.
They generally, and sometimes it's like in Africa, it's the same color. There is not a color difference. It is a tribal difference.
Tribal difference.
And that's why I think, to Hakeem's point, there are multiple layers here.
She keeps calling him Hakeem.
But the fundamental point that I have come in researching at least 90 successful overthrows of governments based on these initial operations is they do prefer to use either religious, to your point, Hakeem, or race, depending on what the fault lines that already exist
or political ideology. Yeah.
Not even really that. Generally speaking, it is not a politic thing. It is fault lines that exist within the culture of these countries, because the CIA has sophisticated survey teams. They send in pre-regime change to find out what those fault lines are. And generally,
Annex.
Yes.
I won't say what the other thing is.
There's a great movie.
Annex.
There's a great movie about the. Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
So they find the fault lines, they exploit both sides of the fault lines, and then from the original small conflict that basically surrounded.
I mean, how long did the genocide go on in Rwanda? 20 years? 30 years?
Yeah.
Right?
I just find that fascinating that I think all of you guys are talking, basically the same thing.
So,
yes.
Yeah, so I don't disagree, et cetera. But where I'm at is this, is that what we have to understand is that there is a pre-state, what's called a liminal state, where it's not what it was and what it is. And then there's the first non-liminal state, and then it evolves and changes as it goes along. Right. What we have a problem doing is that we generally think about the thing later as it shapes up. But because we're looking backwards historically, that's how we're assessing this. But very few of us have been there at that preliminal, liminal, and then that first step or second step after that liminal. That's a very distinct thing, and we really need to look at that because it's coming. That's what they're trying to set up. Yeah.
Clearly in America, it is race.
It's race. And this is the two-tier policing. It's the same. In the
That's
whole
the
Anglosphere.
reason, that's the reason why the SPLC spent hundreds of millions.
And this is another one of these self-manifest. This is this self-manifesting thing that focusing on race and focusing on racial distinctions and like intentionally trying to magnify racial distinctions has the effect of magnifying racial distinctions. So it's going to happen one way or the other. This is why I say that this conception of race and genetics and phenotypical appearance has a particular manifestation in America, and it's not going away. This is something that's going to be hammered out for better or for worse over the next probably a century at least. This is not none of us are going to see some sort of a resolution or a clarity or a finality on this in our lifetimes for sure.
Millions of dollars,
billions,
ensuring the longevity of race being that's why we had George Floyd. That's why we are seeing this murder trial in Texas right now. It has been race. It will continue to be race. And every single person that tried to erase those racial boundaries, like Fred Hampton in Chicago, MLK, Charlie Kirk, they're all dead.
Yes.
Hello, it's me, a black guy.
I just want to give you an out. You're coming up on an hour, 15 minutes. We can keep going.
I got 5 minutes.
Yeah. I just want to make that. We can keep.
Okay, so this is when Joaquin makes his final remarks here. This was what got the old noggin jogging.
I don't know if you guys want. I just want to give Joaquin an out.
Yeah, I got there's a movie called Burn with Marlon Brando, and it's I think from the 70s, maybe 81, but I think it's a movie from the 70s called Burn. Anyway, it's interesting. It's about this guy who's sent by the British to the Caribbean, to a fictional island that was controlled by the Spanish, and he's sent by the British to do an assessment of the class and the race, cultural situation. And it's a demographic study. It's a power analysis. And then they basically fund an anti-Spanish colonial revolution so they can have their own independent republic. But then it's actually going to be like the Rothschilds that finance this is the movie, by the way. So I have no opinions about the Rothschilds or anything. But it's
you got to throw salt over your shoulder.
Right, yeah. And so there's no, I'm talking about a movie plot, right? Just like EM's talking about, different likelihoods and stuff, right? And, so in the movie, he does an assessment, and it's about the power dynamics of this island and how things are going to work. And he kind of has like this break with the British, and he's kind of like this moral ethical crisis, maybe one that kind of similar to what Ian mentioned in his last period of time and one of the last pieces of work that you were doing in the Orient, right? So he kind of also was like, why am I working for the British exactly? Or he came to kind of understand the full scope of this plot. And but it's very interesting because he keeps making reference to this historical materialist method of analyzing, the intersection of class and race and history. And those are very valuable tools that somehow we have forgotten about. And it's a great film because it kind of introduces people to how much of a powerful analysis are in those tools, and how the British actually use those tools, to understand societies, to subvert them. Not that they weren't already subverted, by the way. I'm not saying the Spanish were good or in any way. This is just a contest between empires. So the way that when you look at the defund the police stuff, this was also very racially driven. When you look at what happened in the UK to Henry Nowak, the police were trained to ignore white people. Yes. Like they were trained to, people called and said, yeah, the kid got stabbed. Their version of 911 was at 999 or whatever. Yeah. They were trained to ignore those people. That in other words, because they were basically given a version of what's called critical race theory, which is this also involves this theory of implicit systemic bias. And what's so crazy about this, guys, is that
here's I guess a thought that you can do with it what you will, but clearly there is this effort to foment a race war by turning everyone against whites. It's like all against whitey. Now, ironically enough, the real there are white people littered throughout the responsible parties for fomenting this race war against white people. This is white on white crime. I'm so much of a white supremacist that I deny agency to non-whites. It's just the whites are responsible for everything, and what we're experiencing right now is just like a civil war between whites. I say that only half jokingly, but I just lost my train of thought. I gotta start winding it down here. I'm gonna wrap after this last little bit here that Joaquin does, because I gotta get to bed. So get your tips, get your super chats in. There is a super chat goal still going over there, and it's at 0 to 10 right now. Tips.kingpill.com. What was I saying? So okay. There's this race war being fomented of everyone against white people. And so then my question is, and I don't necessarily have a clear answer on this, but if the war is to make everyone fight whites, it could also be their goal is to make whites fight everyone. This is kind of two ways of saying the same thing. Then is white people choosing to congeal around their identity as white people to defend themselves in this war, is that an act of sovereignty? Is that exercising agency? Or is that just like doing exactly, is that playing along? Or are you, when white people stand up and unite themselves as white people to defend themselves in the great race war against white people, are they actually exercising agency? Are they actually standing on their own sovereignty and asserting themselves? Or are they just providing the exact reaction that's being provoked? Like I'm gonna poke you until you hit me. Okay, I'm hitting you. Was I the one who controlled myself when I hit you? When you said I'm gonna poke you until you hit me? Because like you can't just stand there and just be poked the whole time. You have to do something. I guess you could just stand there and be poked the whole time. Perhaps there is a measure of I don't know, discipline or strength manifest in I don't know, not rising above, but just sort of like blocking it out, powering through it, something like that. But like this is sort of the recursion that happens here. When you start fomenting a race war, then you get a race war. And if you don't want a race war, you have to fight a race war. And so people fight a race war so that they don't have to fight a race war. It's almost like this category of race just kind of has some bugs in it. But anyways, back to Joaquin here.
Critical race theory has some decent application when you talk about certain arenas that are systemic. But what's fascinating is that although we use the word systemic racism, we're not saying you're racist. You're racist. You're racist. Like, no, I'm not the system. I'm just the person. I don't have this kind of level of agency and decision making. I wasn't
systemic.
Right. I'm not systemic. I wasn't there 400 years ago organizing the transatlantic slave trade. I wasn't, my ancestors were sharecroppers. I mean, what is this? So this is, they've actually changed the meaning of the word systemic to actually mean you're personally responsible. And that's why Henry Nowak is dead. And so then, as Ian is saying, as Colonel Watkins is saying, it's so obvious that this is being designed to create a racially driven conflict. And I think when you talk about the UK or you talk about the US, there's so many parallels, but there's also differences. And the thing about England is that the English are the indigenous people of England. The Welsh are the indigenous people of Wales. The United States is this fascinating experiment, the new world. There was this.
Okay, before he really gets going on this, I want to reply to something in here. Trust Plansar said, King Pill thinks nons have agency. He's going, well, no, I said the opposite. I said they don't. I said only white people have agency. So this race war that's happening actually isn't between whites and non-whites. It's whites against whites. It's an intra-white war. Kingless Kingdom said, if someone tries to kill you and you defend yourself, is this an act of sovereignty? It doesn't matter. And Trust Lansar says, if your neighbor is putting homeless people on your property, is it true? It is true that he is trying to provoke you, and also true they need to leave. Yes, of course. But there's a difference here, because what you guys are describing here are particular acts with when you talk about defending yourself, or you're talking about removing people from your property, you're talking about a particular act. But when you're saying band together as white people, what does that mean? And if it's band, like, what's the purpose of band? I prefer to band together with white people. I want to be around white people. I'm naturally around white people. That's that's my natural default state that I prefer to be in. But what I'm saying is that are you banding together with white people because you're fighting anti-whiteness? Are you like, what if the goal is to, like, we don't want to have a race war. Having a race war would be bad. Lots of bad things will happen because of a race war. So how do you protect yourself in the race war without perpetuating the race war? Because the goal is to get you to engage in the race war. So if you engage in the race war, then you're not fighting the people who are trying to start the race war. You're cooperating with them. You're collaborating with them. And so you say, well, I'm defending myself. You're defending yourself in what way? When you describe a particular action, I'm removing somebody from my property. Someone's trying to kill me, and I'm defending myself from the person trying to kill me. But if people are trying to extinguish your whiteness, are you talking about, like, specific people are trying to attack, kill, hurt, maim, deperson, whatever, you particularly? And so then, are you defending yourself, or are you defending your whiteness? Are you defending white people, or are you defending your family? Are you defending your friends, your community? The same actions, like the same mechanical actions, can be taken, but they can be taken for different reasons and directed at a different purpose.
Is this United States are the indigenous people of England. The Welsh are the indigenous people of Wales. The United States is this fascinating experiment, the New World. You know, there was this.
King Xim says the goal is white extinction, not race war. Race war is a means. But the people who are doing it are white. So clearly their goal isn't white extinction. Their goal is the extinction of particular whites. I mean, there's non-whites who are engaged in it as well, and there's that particular liminal third category. But the goal clearly is not white extinction, and also white extinction is not going to happen. But, like, the goal is not white extinction. If white people are trying to kill white people, I mean, I guess they're trying to kill white people, and then they're gonna finish the job with themselves afterwards or something. But, like, all of this is that. I mean, that's it's the anti-whiteness thing is not the actual motivation for the overall thing. For individuals in it, it could be, but the mission is not anti-whiteness. The mission is not kill white people. Is not white extinction. They might put that on the packaging, but they're not actually trying to eliminate white people, because there are white people who are engaged in the process. Those people clearly aren't. And again, I believe that they're the only ones with agency. So clearly they're not trying to exterminate white people, and white people aren't going to be exterminated. It's not going to happen. I don't have such a feeble conception of white people that I think that, oh, we're just going to be exterminated. Oh. So there's a bigger game that's afoot.
There are, hopefully another time we'll be able to speak, but the New World and the dimensions of existence on a new continent, which exists in a different part of the planet, that has different flora and fauna, which interact with the biological beings that are there.
Okay, let me back this up, because this here is very important. He talks about the difference between Europe and America here. So the English are the indigenous people to England, but Americans are not indigenous to America in the way that English people are indigenous to England.
are the indigenous people of England. The Welsh are the indigenous people of Wales. The United States is this fascinating experiment, the New World. You know, there was this, there are, hopefully another time we'll be able to speak, but the New World and the dimensions of existence on a new continent, which exists in a different part of the planet, that has different flora and fauna, which interact with the biological beings that are there, that the people might have thought they were colonizing a place, but the place was actually colonizing them. How did the Native Americans become Native Americans? They were once Mongolians and Siberians, right? They became this there, and it happened over thousands of years. So there are things, the world's a place full of mystery and unknown things. Scientifically, we know less than 1% of a percent of a percent of what can be known. These are my closing words, by the way. So with a place like the United States or Canada or Mexico, all of the people that have come there are becoming whatever it is that transforms people in that part of the earth to that place.
This is like white people in America are substantially different than white people in not America. Like the America is, just because Americans, the vast overwhelming majority of Americans and the founding of America came from European people, there was the selection effect of people who came to America in the first place. And then there's the act of being in America, and the specific, like he's talking about here, you can think of this in like biological terms, you know, the fungi and the organisms and stuff that you're consuming that are changing you. Like the flora and fauna in America are different than the flora and fauna in not America. And so being part of the fauna of America and interfacing with the flora and fauna of America makes people who are in America, and the longer that they're in America, it makes them different on a not just a genetic level, but on levels even deeper than genetics, makes them fundamentally different than others. So Americans are not Europeans, especially the Americans whose stock have been in America the longest. They're the least European, because the like I said before, like what latitude you're at, what sort of you know, different minerals or different the water quality or amounts of sunlight or wind patterns or your relative location on the earth and the different pressures and chemicals and all these sorts of things that all go into forming a human being. Because we're not like consciousness with bodies. We are our consciousness, and we're all one thing. You are your body and your consciousness all together. They're not separable from one another. So the things that you're physically taking into you, the physical things that you're experiencing, whether they're material or immaterial, those things are affecting you and changing you and forming you. And the people who are experiencing those same things together and successively for a increasing time period are becoming substantially more alike with each other and more different from all the others.
And then you have the Mexico. All of the people that have come there are becoming whatever it is that transforms people in that part of the earth to that place. And then you have the importation and changes of the flora and fauna. But basically, people are just like you have bees and flowers. All beings are interacting with the soil, the particular bacteria, the particular funguses are having a particular effect on your hormones. They're having a particular effect on the unlocking or activation of certain genes which exist in many more people than we might think exist based upon a present inheritable phenotypic concept of ethnicity as race. So these things might be much more transmognifiable than we have hitherto believed them to be as well. So when I think about the age of discovery and the age of exploration. So
yeah, that's the other thing, is that like we're also talking about the way that you take a snapshot in time and you look at how phenotypes and genetics and stuff break down right now, but there's also a trajectory, and how it is right now is not how it's always going to be, and which direction is it going? What is that trajectory heading toward? Which is informed by all of these things that he's talking about.
In so-called colonialism, 16th through 19th centuries, you had Europeans travel around the world, but over time, they have become more like the places that they have gone to as much as they have, as the places they have gone to have become like the places that they came from. So it's, to me, a research question. It's not something that I have like a predetermined outcome or a preconceived, idea of where that goes. But I'm aware of those things. I've come upon them enough, at least in my research into history of people on the planet, that.
Look, this is crazy.
What'd you get?
Look what Mr. Orthodoxy sent me.
Mr. Orthodoxy?
That's a moon base.
Look at this.
It's got so much pieces.
I don't know if it's going to show up with the camera here. Hold on just a second. I think that I can do this. Actually, no. No, I can't. I can't get it to, if I can. No, it's not going to work. So what it is, it's a Mr. Orthodoxy sent a Lego moon base. It's got 1,422 pieces in it. It's massive. Does it say how much the box weighs 4.5 pounds. Come over here. So people can see you.
Where does it say NASA?
I don't know if it says NASA on it. It probably can't. I would guess. Yeah, it doesn't say NASA anywhere on it.
Then how does Mama know it's from NASA? Oh, the moon base. NASA is planning to make a moon base. I'm not sure if SpaceX is.
Wow. That thing's cool, man.
And look, that's a little rover.
Oh yeah, a little rover robot.
Mm-hmm.
You excited to build with this?
This must be the dark side of the moon. For years, it doesn't get sunlight.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know that?
Because look, do you see the sun?
Yeah.
The only thing that's kind of bright is that gas plus the rocket.
Mm-hmm.
This must be so fun to play with.
You excited?
Uh-huh.
What's the what were you telling me earlier today? Oh, the formula for rocket fuel?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. You have to condense them to make them liquid.
Oh yeah. You like rockets, don't you?
Mm-hmm. The Raptor is a super strong rocket engine.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is like 4,000 horsepower.
Wow. That's a lot.
And Daddy.
What?
This is crazy.
Yeah?
I still can't believe he sent me this. Oh, and I've never seen Legos like that in person.
Yeah, you're going to get to build with them now.
Be able to extend out.
Yeah, it's kind of like a big crane.
Then on the other side, let's go see the other side.
What's on this side?
See?
What is it?
That's what the little thing's for. That's what the little crane thing's for. It's for this.
Oh, yeah. For picking up that platform?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look, there's a little alien.
Yeah.
Little green man.
Yeah, I know.
Little, like, squid-like creature.
Uh-huh. Aliens usually have eyes all over them and feathers on their heads.
Oh, look, there's crystals, too.
That's most likely diamonds.
Diamonds?
Oh, and look, there's another little alien.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
But the sticker's covering his head.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what a real rocket thing looks like.
Yeah.
Doesn't that look like Endeavor?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, that must be the cargo bay thing.
On the screen, it just looks like you're pointing into the black. Did it work when you... Yeah, there you go. You can kind of get a little picture of the
It's
Endeavor.
a Lego moon base.
Yeah.
I'm pointing at a Lego moon base here.
That's awesome, man.
Sorry you can't see it, but it is amazing.
It is so amazing.
Can you, we'll take pictures of it when it's done being built, and you can send them so people see them.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. You got to get building on them.
Uh-huh.
All right, I love you, big guy.
I knew it was Legos. I thought it was like you build a rocket I was right.
You were right. What did you get that for? Why did Mommy give it to you?
Because I cleaned up Legos.
Because you cleaned up Legos?
Mm-hmm.
And you did a good job this morning? What did you do today?
How I earned it is being good at camp.
Yeah, you went to camp.
Oh.
All right. All right, Daddy's going to finish up his show, and I'll come downstairs in just a minute, okay?
Okay, I'll get on building this.
Okay, get on building it. Close the door behind you, please.
Okay. Think I should let it fall down the stairs?
Probably not. That's probably not a good idea. He is excited. He is a boy. He is a boy through and through. He's a white boy through and through. Yeah, most Eastwood question ever. Should I let it fall down the stairs? Maybe one day Eastwood would be the first man to walk on the moon. Woo-hoo-hoo! Tyler's trying to make some enemies in the chat. Okay, I can't remember exactly what you were saying before that, but I think Joaquin's just finishing up here. Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Cable says the Texas visit round 2 is definitely in the plan. One where I can come actually hang with the whole fam and not just Matt and Uncle Buck. Oh yeah, that was a good time. I just realized I wasn't sharing the screen, so you guys couldn't. I guess I gotta go back. I was reading the chat.
It's to me a research question. It's not something that I have like a predetermined outcome or a preconceived, idea of where that goes. But I'm aware of those things. I've come upon them enough, at least in my research into history of people on the planet, that that it is a folly to believe that there is a one-to-one correlation between a particular country. Like the French didn't, for example, when the French, the better example are the Dutch in South Africa, the Boers.
Pine over on YouTube says the founding stock Americans are indigenous to North America. Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, like, see, the thing about this is like, yeah, they're indigenous to North America, but they're not indigenous to North America in the same way that the English are indigenous to England. Like the amount of time does matter. It's not like it's like, okay, at this point now you become indigenous and before you weren't. But America is a much younger, America as conceived of today is a much younger nation, but there are much deeper, older spirits that are here, that have been here for a very long time. And so being here and participating in America here, participating in those spirits is changing the people who came here. And they're changing, and that those changes are developing, and they're going through that. So the English people in England are much further advanced through that process than Americans in America. And so there's more changes and developments and everything as we proceed through there. To us, the idea, there's like 7 different like broad ethnicities within just the United Kingdom. Like you could subset way more than that. 1,000 years ago, being on one side of the island made you a wholly different person than someone who is on the other side of the island with respect to each other within the experience that you had. Today, that's like, we live in a different world now. So now, I don't know. So let's say 1,000 years ago, if you were 500 miles away from another person, you could have had greater genetic, ethnic, religious, philosophical. You could have had much greater differences then than people who now live 2,500 miles from each other. And this is like an emergent process that's happening. So yeah, like I would agree that founding stock Americans are indigenous to North America, but that's not the same statement as saying that English people are indigenous to England, because the difference is so substantial that it becomes substantial. It's a substantive difference. And so the American ethnos is still very much in its emergent state. This is part of my thesis, that the American empire has only just begun to emerge. People think the American empire is on the downfall, and it's not, hardly. It's like adolescent, perhaps. So what this also means is that the more mature the American ethnos becomes, the further removed from the founding stock it becomes. I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm just identifying this as a process that's happening, that's underway. Anyways, I don't think it's emerging so much as it's maturing. Sure, yeah. I mean, I would say those are kind of the same thing in a conceptual sense, at least in terms of an ethnos. Kingless Kingdom says, I disagree that it's a substantive difference. I think you just don't fully appreciate the extent to which we are, like, human beings are impacted by their physical environment and the spiritual influences that are latent therein, because it could not be substantially different. All right. Well, that is longer than I planned on going today, and I need to get to bed because I've been awake for a very long time now. So I'll be back tomorrow. Tyler says, I think 400 years is a long time, but yeah, I do agree. I mean, yeah, 400 years is a long time, but it's also not 2,000 years. 2,000 years is a lot longer. So, you know, it's kind of like saying a 5-year-old and an 80-year-old are the same. Well, sure, yeah, they are, but they're also substantially different. They might be both human beings. They both have arms and legs. They, both talk. But they're also substantially different. Yeah. So, still got some bugs I got to work out here with the new setup. So I've got my work cut out for me tonight. Actually, tomorrow's Wednesday, so there'll be no show tomorrow. But then I'll be back on Thursday. Go join the King Pill Discord, kingpill.com. Thank you guys for your contributions to the Erickson cause, the monetary contributions today. If you're watching on YouTube, watching the live stream on YouTube for the first time, then welcome. Please do like the channel, subscribe, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, make sure you get alerted when I go live again. You can also follow the Kingpilled Telegram channel, t.me/Kingpilled. I will always alert you guys when I'm going to go live. And follow me on X @Kingpilled. Go download EWBSX. Get you some white pills pumped into your ears. And I will see you guys on the next Lab. Until then, I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough.